If I can go ahead and have the assembly take their seats, please. So, Deputy Mayor, are you online?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Ready? I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:01 PM. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
I will. Tim Hale, are you on the phone? I'm expecting him to call in, Madam Mayor. Stephanie
thank you.
Nowers.
Here?
Dee McKee. Yep. Maxwell Sumner.
Present.
Bill Gamble.
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff.
Here.
Ron Bernier, are you on the phone?
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay. Is there anything that any of the assembly would like to pull from the consent agenda? Assembly, I don't see a light, but I thought I saw a figure. Okay, Assembly Person Gamble, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull Resolution 25-057, Resolution 25-058, and Resolution 25-059. 57, 58, and 59.
Are there any other items anybody would like to pull? Okay, see none. And after we do the pledge, we will have a time to honor Gene Stone, who many of you probably know has passed away this last weekend. So we'll add that to the agenda after the pledge. So,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I do believe Assemblymember Hale has just joined us on the
Okay.
phone.
Okay, so let the record show he joined us at 6:03. And if you'll all stand, please, and Borough Manager Mike Brown, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
The United
America,
States of America,
and to the
and
republic
to
for
the
which it
republic
stands,
for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and
with
justice for
liberty
all.
and justice for all.
So before we go to special orders of the day,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I'll
sir.
just quickly, this past weekend, Gene Stone passed away. He was a lifelong educator, served in rural Alaska, served here in the Mat-Su. And I'll say this because I don't think Miss McKee would get it out, but I know he was a longtime principal at Palmer Junior Middle School, where I understand his staff loved working with him. And then he ultimately made his way over to the Mat-Su Borough School District Administration and served a period as our superintendent. And so we wanted to just take a minute to honor him with a moment of silence and recognize his contributions to our community.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll have a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. Now we'll go back to our agenda for special orders of the day, and we have a proclamation. Yes, and including myself. We finally have a proclamation for me. Yeah, right. Well, Elsie and I go back. Has it been 40 or 50 years? In the 80s. In the 80s, so Yeah. Yeah, right. So anyway, this is a proclamation recognizing Older Americans Month. And I think we don't have a definition of older Americans, but all of you are older now than you were a year ago, so I guess it's for all of you. So whereas as mayor, we acknowledge older Americans to recognize and celebrate the older adults that contributed to the strength, vitality, and the diversity of our community. Older adults in the Mat-Su Borough continue to play an essential part as family members, volunteers, workers, mentors, and leaders, hoping to shape a brighter generation future for all of us. Whereas the 2025 theme for older Americans are flip the script on aging. So none of you are aging now, okay? We're flipping the script. And we challenge the outdated stereotypes and recognize the full spectrum of aging, highlighting the strength, independence, and potential that older adults employ every day. Whereas the borough supports the policies and programs that promote healthy aging, lifetime learning, and civil engagement. And here we all are. And be consulting to ensure that older residents are respected, included, and supported in all aspects of our community. We commend the dedication of the caregivers, the senior organizations, healthcare professionals, and community members who work together to serve and empower the older Americans in Alaska. Now, therefore, it is proclaimed that I, Edna DeVries, Mayor of the Mat-Su Borough, hereby do recognize the month of May 2025 as Older American Month. Older citizens. The next item on our agenda is the minutes of the preceding meetings. We have special meeting minutes from the 9th of April, the regular meeting minutes of the 15th of April. These are all minutes from the year 2025. A budget public hearing on the 22nd of April, a budget public hearing on the 24th of April, a budget public hearing on the 29th of April, and a special meeting minutes from May 1st, 2025, and budget deliberations on the 1st of May of 2025. Are there any changes to them as they're presented to us? Seeing and hearing none, then they are presented. Okay, agency reports from the city.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. Hopefully, I include myself on that proclamation of older American. I'm only 41, but I have 3 teenagers. I think I'm like 70 years old with how they talk to me. So, so it's a good thing. So we got some good stuff going on with the city of Palmer. My name is Josh, the deputy mayor. And Friday Fling started this last week, so we got that going on. So on Fridays, if you're down in the pavilion area, we have a lot of really good vendors this year, a lot of good food. So come on down and get some food, do some shopping. It's a great time. And a big thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for putting that on. It's a lot of work putting that together, and they do an excellent job doing that every year. Also, there's an intersection over there by Fireweed and Colony Way. It's kind of right across from the Eagle Hotel. That intersection is being replaced. So we're actually going to basically redo that whole intersection to make it ADA compliant and to make it better for travel as well, because we've had a lot of complaints over how rough the train tracks are to drive over. We have a new city manager that started recently. So Colby Zirkle started, and she's been doing great. She hit the ground running. She's been just doing an amazing job so far. It's been great to work with her. And for the library, we had a meeting and we went over the donation policy for accepting donations for the city to go toward that library project. So we're going to get moving on that here pretty soon, and it's going to be great to see that. And then also, lastly, at the last meeting we had, we did approve a resolution in support of support for the Japanese language program at Palmer High. This is a really great program. It's a big part of our Soroma sister city program that we have as a city. We're going to go actually over there. It's the 45th year, if memory serves, of us having that program. It started in 1980. And we're going to be going over there with the delegation from the high school, and I'll be there as well for the city of Palmer representing over there. And it's going to be a great time. And just want to say the work that they do over at Palmer High is very critical to that, because those kids, they speak Japanese very fluently. I've been trying to learn it myself. It's a difficult language to learn, and they make it look so easy. So it's been great. So thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have anybody else from either Wasilla or Houston here? Okay, we do not. I don't think we have anybody from the school district. And Todd, we do have somebody from the state of Alaska. I see today where the House adjourns, so maybe you have a little bit of reprieve, do you?
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor. Todd Smolden with the Governor's Office in the Mat-Su. I wanted to say thanks again to Assembly members for serving, and apologies for being a little less visible the last month. I have some family things that I'm trying to help with, so it's taken me out of the community a little bit, but I did want to stop by today in case anybody had any questions about how session ended, what the governor's thoughts are about anything. I do want to mention that he did post a statement on social media about the veto override of HB 57. And for those of you who like history, that's the first veto override since 2009. So, and I think it would be best for me to read a couple of parts of the social media post that he posted, so that you have maybe from his own words a more clear kind of picture of what his thoughts are. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to read a couple of parts. So in part, the governor says, let me be clear. I support investing in public education. I have consistently supported increased funding when it is paired with real meaningful reforms that improve outcomes for students. HB 57 did not meet that standard. I vetoed this bill because we cannot keep rewarding a system that resists accountability, innovation, and choice. Adding money without demanding results does a disservice to students, teachers, and Alaska's future. Our kids deserve a system that ensures they can read by third grade, attend high-quality charter schools, benefit from open enrollment, and graduate ready for careers and college. To sum it up and to put it in perspective, out of an $11 billion budget, the legislature could not find $22 million to support reading. We are 51st in the nation, and we do have a moral imperative to do better. This veto override does not end the conversation, it raises the stakes. And I think that what's important for people to remember is that first of all, 8 of the 9 members of the Mat-Su delegation supported the governor in his desire to have reforms combined with funding. And I think that the main reason for that is because the Mat-Su delegation sees how reforms and good policy actually results in good results. And I will say that the Mat-Su School District, if you ever want to have some fun, get on the DEED website and look at the report cards for districts. You'll find that the Mat-Su School District more than doubles most school districts in terms of proficiency. for students. And the reason for that is because the Mat-Su mostly has the reforms that the governor has been asking for. Open enrollment, public school choice. The Mat-Su was doing the READS Act before the READS Act was passed by the legislature. And my understanding is that the school board is going to be looking at some ways to reduce distractions with electronic devices, just because it's good policy. So it's always difficult for me to speak about education and education results because I feel like sometimes it paints a bad picture on what the Mat-Su School District is doing, but that's not true. The Mat-Su School District's leading the state in proficiency. Is it great? Is it perfect? Is it where we want it to be? No. The governor's actions are because he's the governor of Alaska, not because he's a Mat-Su resident. And many of the policies that the Mat-Su Borough and the district have implemented are very successful. But we have a lot of school districts that continue to fight against parental choice. They continue to fight against open enrollment. They continue to fight against alternative public education models that parents demand. It's not just the governor wants something and is unhappy if he doesn't get it. This is based on parent demand. HB 57 guarantees nothing. Absolutely nothing. I know you've seen things that, it guarantees this, guarantees that. There is no language in HB 57 that guarantees any educational reform. If you want a really good synopsis of that, my Representative McCabe, wrote a one-page letter that explains it very well. So I think what the governor is saying is that he's going to continue to work for reforms that benefit students, that offer parents choice, that gets money directly to the classroom, and that is directly tied to outcomes. The governor has one more tool in his tool chest. When the budget is presented to him, he can line item veto part of the BSA. It's a formula just like the PFD is a formula. And we all know what the legislature has done to the PFD for the last 10 years. They haven't fully funded that formula. So the governor still has a little bit of leverage. I don't know what he's going to do with that leverage, but I would suggest that school districts not plan on the funds that exist in HB 57 because that's a formula, that's not realized revenue. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I'd be happy to take them if they do. If you do.
Assemblyperson Nowers.
Thank you, as always, for coming down and giving us a report. I don't have so much a question. It's just to appreciate that you distinguish the performance of Mat-Su because the statistics that get thrown around about how the state is performing is not how Mat-Su is performing, and just appreciate you reiterating that you distinguish that the Mat-Su is, in our scores, we're about average compared to the rest of the nation. So room for improvement, but certainly not last. So thank you for that. And thanks for taking the time to come down and give us an update.
Through the mayor, thank you, Assembly Member Nowers. And I would also reiterate, because the governor would want me to, that our education results are not because of teachers either. And I don't say that just because my wife is a fifth grade teacher at an elementary school in the Mat-Su. I say that because it's true. Teachers are struggling with a lot of different issues in the classroom: disruption, discipline, behavior issues. The list goes on and on. More and more requirements for teachers to be much more than teachers, which is not what they signed up to do. And so we have a system, again, that just continues these same issues without addressing them. And what HB 57 has done is just thrown more money at a system that is no longer demanded by a lot of parents and that has a lot of issues that need to be resolved.
Any other questions?
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, online.
Out of the Matsu delegation, out of the Matsu delegation, who wasn't in favor, or who went against the other 8?
Well, through the mayor, the only member of the delegation that voted to override the governor's veto was Senator Yent.
Okay. And is there anything that the borough assembly can do in support of the governor? Any letters or anything like that?
Through the mayor, I would let the assembly discuss that. I'm sure there's a lot of different things you could do to support the governor or anything else that you wanted to support.
Thank you, Todd.
Anybody else have any other questions or not? Well, it's nice to see you back, but we understand why the absence, so.
Thank
best
you, Madam
wishes
Mayor.
to you and your family, sir.
Yeah, and again, thank you all for serving. I greatly appreciate it as a borough resident. So, thank you, and congratulations, Manager Brown, on getting rehired.
Woo! Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Manager Brown. Have a good night.
Good night. The next item is committee reports, and I understand there has not been a joint assembly and school board committee on school issues. The next item on our agenda is public relations. Do any of the assembly members have a public relations report that they would like to state? No? Okay. And Mr. Brown, do you have a report? Nothing to it as well. Okay. Mr. Attorney, do we have a report? Okay. And Madam Clerk?
Clerk's report is in your red folder with the upcoming meeting schedule and quasi-judicial update.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Then the next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. There's a number of items there. And does any of the assembly have any comments on the citizens and other correspondence? Okay, hearing none, then they are presented. We do not have any IMs for tonight. And I see an exchange of paperwork here, so we must have, so the next item is audience participation, and we do have a sign-up sheet. We will ask the sign-up sheet people to speak first, and then we'll open it up to everybody that's here as well as to people online. And so, Ron, you're signed up first, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly. My name is Rod Hanson, President of the North Lakes Community Council. I'd like to just use this time to provide the council, or the Assembly, I'm sorry, with a heads up on a concern that our residents have about a project that's underway, kind of going through design for improved access to Shaw Elementary School and to the site of the new Birch Tree Charter School. And you have my statement in front of you, and you might want to just refer to the last page because there's a bit of a map that you might find helpful. So the scope of this job really includes 3 major elements. Number one, a very necessary improvement at the Wasilla-Fishhook Paradise Lane intersection to access Shaw Elementary. This intersection is critical to the safety of students and to parents delivering and picking up their children. Second piece of the scope is expansion of Paradise Lane, or extension of Paradise Lane, to access the new charter school. And then another element of the project is a proposed connection of Paradise Lane to an existing residential street named Foxtrot. This part of the scope would also include improvements along Foxtrot. We strongly support the Wasilla-Fishhook intersection improvements. This is currently a very dangerous intersection during school deliveries and pickups. It'll get significantly worse as the Birch Trees charter school traffic is added to the equation. They are expecting about 425 students next year, and only a very few of those actually arrive by bus, arrive or depart by bus. The intersection should be a controlled intersection with multiple turning lanes and traffic lights programmed to really appropriately deal with the peak traffic during school traffic times of the day. We also understand the necessary expansion of Paradise Lane to serve Birch Tree, and we plan to approach the school district and share our thoughts about significant on-site improvements to parking lots and queuing lanes for peak traffic so that traffic doesn't end up backed up on Paradise Lane itself while waiting to drop off or pick up kids. We don't support the connection of Paradise Lane to Foxtrot. With proper design, all the traffic to the schools can safely use that Wasilla Fishhook and Paradise Lane intersection once it's improved. If the connection is made to Foxtrot Avenue, there will be significant negative impact to the surrounding neighborhood and an increase in congestion on Charlie, Caribou, Mariah shortcut. That corridor is already under design for the current traffic load, and adding 200 plus round-trip vehicle operations every morning and every school afternoon will exceed the capacity of that road significantly. And that intersection at Bogart and Caribou is one that is particularly concerning. We will be putting some sort of letter or resolution together and forwarding it. And tonight I'm just asking for your awareness and kind of be paying attention to the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Garland?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and gathered assembly members. My name is Garland Morrison. I'm a RSA 21 board member. I want to speak regarding the resolution to disband or dissolve the RSA 21 for dysfunction and consuming too much borough employee time. In my opinion, this is another politically based attempt to gain control of RSA as a rubber stamp for projects that our current assemblyman wishes to spend our limited funds on. I notice in the resolution it talks about internally combative, and I'm not quite sure what the definition of combative is. I've been in all these meetings, and other than differences of opinion and expressing our desires for different projects to move forward and stuff, that's the only dysfunction, I guess you could say, which I would think would be part of a 5-member board. That's the reason why the assembly is trying to get more RSAs to go to 5 members, to have a more diverse opinion or base to make judgment calls on construction projects and funds and stuff. As far as the dysfunction that's talked about, I believe this began with Mr. Gamble's first appointee to the board, and who is currently under violations of the OMA rules regarding discussing board business with other board members, multiple one-on-one phone calls, recording those phone calls without informing those individuals, and attempting to bribe other board members for their vote for primary board position. It bewilders me as to why our assembly member would want to dissolve this board when he can't find enough volunteers for his other RSA district board. Also, as the Mat-Su Borough pursues increasing board size and other RSAs in the interest of gaining larger public involvement, why they wouldn't expect different points of views and opinions. And on that second note, Mr. Gamble's second appointee hasn't been in the board long enough to be dysfunctional, and I myself haven't been contacting any Mat-Su Borough employees and taking up their valuable time. So to accuse the whole board of all these dysfunctions and combative attitude and stuff, I think is inaccurate and incorrect. I think that most of us are just here to do our civic duty, and we would honorably ask to be allowed to complete that duty and finish our terms of service in the board. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Jackie?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly members. Today I was described, my name is Jackie Goforth. And today it was described that I harangue people. And I looked that up, and the first description says that you give long and lengthy speeches. And since you only give me 3 minutes, I find it hard to believe that that worked. But okay, I'm here to harangue you with facts again. See, I have never ever brought up anything that I didn't have facts for. The reason why it's very difficult to talk to a librarian or educated person about these books is because they are indoctrinated. For the last 30 years, the Chinese Communist Party has been funding the universities. They have strings involved that came with Marxism, with the Tavistock industry, and the Frankfurt School of Social Engineering and the Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And I also told you that most of the professors are now liberals. And I'm giving you the proof now to show that that was true, as you can see by all the charts. Now, at the library board meeting, one of the educated persons said that there's no pornography in any library in the borough. Now, I don't know if she was trying to do the legal version of that, because it is true what she said. Pornography in a legal view is only if it is visual and it identifies a real person, okay, and it has to have a victim. There is, however, obscenity in the libraries. She didn't say that, but there is obscenity in the libraries, and I can prove it. Because last year, when they took 56 books out of the school district, a judge put 49 of them back in. Not 56, 49. The reason why 7 of them were not put back in is because they were unanimously selected as obscene. They were unanimously found to be obscene by the committee, which means there are obscene books in the libraries. There are. And this person went on to speak about how, I'm losing my train of thought, I'm sorry. She went on to explain that, the one thing I wanted to tell you is, whenever I speak with these people, and I try to talk with them, their education is being used as a weapon, number one. And you cannot get through to them that other people feel that these books are normalizing things. She said that it's a trend. It's a trend. It's a trend to put sex in books now, and so it's just a trend, and we have to get used to it. Well, I'm drawing the line. There's a line drawn at normalizing pedophilia, and they don't seem to get that. There's no stepping past that, and I will harangue whoever I need to, because there's no getting past. Sexualizing children is illegal. It's illegal, and we're not going to stand for it here in the Mat-Su Valley. So I want to thank you again for the Library Citizens Advisory Committee so very much, because they may feel that they're not doing anything, but every time they meet and they make a decision, that is building the evidence that those books are obscene based on the citizens of the valley and not anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Powell?
Hi, good evening. I'm here to discuss the Bogart-Selden improvement, which I know you're going to be discussing on June 3rd, but I won't be here then to give my thoughts on that. Specifically, I wanted to talk about my neighborhood, which is North Old Squaw Loop, which is a T intersection. So when I first heard about this, of course, I'm not in favor of it. I'm not anyways. And then so I got a hold of one of the engineers at the borough to discuss the reasons why. Reasons why were safety, streamlining traffic, because now that's going to be a major type of highway. And so I thought, well, would you take information if I polled my neighbors? Didn't really know most of them. That was a real positive thing. There's 21 homes there. One home is open. So I talked, well, I'm one of the 20. But so I talked to all but one of the neighbors who wouldn't answer the door. Everyone was in favor of keeping that intersection open. I didn't mention that. The part of the planning is to close off that intersection and create another road in the back part of our neighborhood that leads up to another neighborhood. So on the safety aspect of that, one of the reasons was that they were concerned about us coming out of that neighborhood. There's only 21 homes, not a lot of traffic. Concerned about the increased speed, possibility of accidents. So of all my neighbors I talked to, some of them have been there more than 30 years. Nobody ever heard of an accident on that T intersection. So we're pretty safe on pulling out of our neighborhood onto Selden. Part of the safety factor, I was told by the engineer, is the steepness of the hill. Well, part of the planning is to reduce the steepness of the hill. So I said, well, if you reduce the steepness of the hill, won't that improve the safety of coming out of that neighborhood? Didn't really get much response for that, but logically that makes sense. From the top of the hill to our intersection is at least 2 blocks. So it's very easy to sit there and when you start to pull out, you're gonna know whether it's safe or not to make a left or right turn, which we've done for over 30 years. Another part of that was, the amount of traffic. When you're heading east on Selden, most of the traffic is gone when you're heading east when you come to Chirac. If you know that area, people take Chirac to go to a different, behind that. So there's not that much traffic from Chirac east, which would include North Old Squaw Loop, almost at a time. And quickly, on saving money. I know we're all interested in saving money. It would seem like it would cost a lot more money to build a road through the back of our neighborhood, buy some properties, build the road, cuts down neighborhoods to go up to the different neighborhood, and then that street is going to be a right turn in, right turn out only. Well, if that's the case, why not just make our road right turn in, right turn out? Then there won't be the danger of making a left turn. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Powell, I don't know that you stated your name. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry I
That's
didn't
okay.
because you did. Ed Powell. And I didn't know how many members there were, so I brought a copy. This is of my neighbors that were in favor. I didn't influence them all because that's the type of person I am. I signed it last
Okay.
because I just wanted their opinion.
Okay, if you want to give that to the clerk, she can probably scan it. Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir.
Did you have something else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Linda?
My name is Linda Spohn. First, would like to thank Assembly Members Fonoff and McKee for your conservative efforts. You are appreciated. Did I say my name? My name is Linda Spohn. Okay. From a speech that President Trump gave at a press conference in March of this year, I quote, "The Department of Education is a big con job. So they rank the top 40 countries in the world. We are ranked number 40. But we're ranked number 1 in one department, cost per pupil. So we spend more than any other country in the world, but we're ranked number 40. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, I hate to say it, China, as big as it is in the top 5, and that's our primary competitor. We're ranked number 40. So if we're ranked number 40, something is really wrong," unquote. As sad as that statistic is, it gets worse. Alaska is ranked at the bottom of the list nationwide. So that means Alaska is not only ranked at the bottom nationwide, but worldwide. Our legislature just voted to increase spending on education with no accountability and no strings attached. Alaska spends not only more than any other state, but more than any other place in the world, and has the lowest test scores. This is outrageous. I can't believe anyone, and I do mean anyone, still sends their children to public school in Alaska. You people are arrogant about test scores being a little higher in the valley, but it's because charter school children test higher, which is not a reflection on the school district, but on parental involvement. All government does is throw taxpayers' hard-earned money around and grow government with zero results. You forced us to fund addictive, vulgar, perverse, obscene material in our libraries and schools. Yet you will fund a multi-million-dollar recreation center in Big Lake with taxpayer funds without the vote of the people. You could have put it on the ballot this fall. Does anyone care about children and young adults knowing reading, writing, and arithmetic? Is it more important that children are groomed and sexualized in DEI, LGBTQ, transgendering minors, and obscene material? It's all about greed at the expense of children's morality and literacy. May God have mercy through Christ Jesus our Savior. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. So that's the people that we had signed up, but now it's open to anybody that would like to address the assembly on any item for 3 minutes. Do we have anybody online? We do not have anybody online. So one last chance. Anyone want to address the assembly? Okay, seeing and hearing no one, then we will close audience participation. And Madam Clerk.
First public hearing is Resolution 2520, a resolution removing all board members from the Big Lake Road Service Area Number 21 Board of Supervisors. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, I understand there's no staff report, so we will go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. And let's see, did Garland leave? I think he did. Okay, so we did have one person sign up, but he had already testified under audience participation, but he could have testified at this time if he would have stayed. So at this time, for public testimony, it should pertain to the resolution 25-020. Anyone that would like to address the assembly on that resolution? Okay.
We have
I
one
don't
person on the phone.
Oh, do we? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Clerk. Go ahead, who's ever online.
Yeah, good evening. This is Pat Daniels from RSA 21. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I would think this is very difficult, but I would like to say this is a very political topic. It's got a lot of different ideologies to it. Within those ideologies, it's the diversity is what everybody and what the Mat-Su Borough is looking for, is requesting within the boards. So keeping it short and sweet, I think that every one of the board members in this particular board are quality people with fair ideology and deserving opinions. And I think they are rightfully entitled to finish their term and do the work of the community and the Mat-Su Borough. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your call. Do we have anybody else online? We do not. Okay, one last chance for anyone here. Okay, with that, then I will close the public hearing. And Assemblyperson Gamble, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 25-020 and would like to speak to it.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
So in the 90 days that have passed since the original resolution was introduced, I would say that 4 of the 5 board members are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're following the RSA manual, performing the functions of the board as they're supposed to. But there is still one member who is not, and I'd like to talk about that. I attended a RSA 21 board meeting in April, and there was a small group of homeowners that came into the meeting, and they just wanted to talk to the board about how they would get their private road upgraded to the point that the borough would start maintaining it. And that conversation digressed from the primary of the RSA into a conversation about the administration misappropriating RSA money, and that's why roads aren't getting maintained, and projects that the RSA board would put forward were not being funded because the borough administration was taking their RSA money and spending it on projects other than what had been approved by the board. So with that being said, I have a minute I'd like to introduce. That's okay? Okay, so.
Go ahead.
I move to amend resolution serial number 25-020 as follows. By striking the words "all board members" from the title and replacing them with Pat Daniels. By inserting the following whereas clauses after the final whereas clause in the resolution. Whereas, since the 90-day period has elapsed, 4 of the 5 board members have stopped engaging in activities and tactics which were outlined in this resolution, and information memorandum as being the basis for removal. And whereas 1 member, Pat Daniels, has continued to erode trust in government, put his self-interest above others, and refuses to stop engaging in activities outlined in this resolution and information memorandum. And whereas at the meeting of the RSA 21 Board of Supervisors in April 2025, members of the public presented concerns and questions about upgrading a road for maintenance. And whereas thereafter, instead of responding to the members of the public, Pat Daniels brought up discussions of budget and mill rates and voiced his displeasure about them. And whereas Pat Daniels' attitude and conduct during his discussions was so disruptive that the members of the public left the meeting. And whereas after members of the public left, the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Road Maintenance Supervisor commented to the board and everyone in the room that it was disruptive conduct that prompted members of the public to leave, and it should not be that way. And whereas Pat Daniels continues to sow discord, disrupt the business of the meetings, and lash out at others to the point where the public leaves the meeting rather than participate. To strike all 3 resolved clauses and replace them with, now, therefore be it resolved that the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly finds that for the reasons contained in the recitals of this resolution and the reasons in information memorandum number 25-051, when taken as a whole, good cause exists to remove Pat Daniels from the Big Lake RSA 21 Board of Supervisors. Be it further resolved that the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly finds that the good cause to be stated with this resolution is the inordinate amount of borough staff time consumed by Mr. Daniels with issues unrelated to the advice the board is to give, the corresponding lack of any better advice from the board, the repeated bickering and infighting by Mr. Daniels, the practice of Mr. Daniels advocating for positions or changes on an individual basis and not with board concurrence, the refusal of Mr. Daniels to stop these practices, complaints from the public about the board's functioning, all of the issues and discussions contained in the recitals of this resolution, and the reasons in the information memorandum number 25-051, and the fact that since this resolution was introduced 90 days ago, Mr. Daniels has not stopped his disruptive practices, has continued to erode trust in government, put his self-interest above others, and refuses to stop engaging in the activities recited in this resolution and information memorandum to the point that members of the public do not attend and/or leave meetings because of Mr. Daniels' conduct. Be it further resolved, Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly removes Pat Daniels from Big Lake RSA 21 Board of Supervisors and declares that seat immediately vacant. And I'd just like to add, at that April RSA 21 meeting, after the folks, well, the reason why the people that came about the road left was the conversation digressed to the point where the board members were, I don't want to say yelling at each other, but they were speaking with raised voices and angry at each other. And it was embarrassing, actually, for me as an assembly member to attend that RSA meeting. So I hope that you'll all vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I coincidentally, I actually know the members of the public that attended this meeting, and they had an opportunity to talk to me about this in person later on, and they said they felt very awkward. It was not how they think the government should function, and I can confirm from their own mouths that they left the meeting because of the actions of this RSA board member.
Thank you. Any other comments on the amendment? Yes, Assemblyperson Palmer, go ahead.
Question, I guess it would be to attorney. Is that proper procedure for, because as original, it was to oust them all, but now to just be to a specific one individual. And I know we appoint them, but what is the provisions in place for member who is in the middle of the term to be yanked out individually by assembly?
This is John Ashenbrenner, Deputy Borough Attorney, through the mayor. If the mayor concurs, it's my understanding that it would take 4 votes for the removal, whereas from the assembly, it would take 5 votes
from a notice perspective, I think the notice is adequate under the resolution because it originally started that all or 5 of the members were to be removed, and now it's down to 1. So I think the public notice is adequate. So I hope that answers your question.
Follow up?
I guess it's so public notice, but it is within the right to individually outline just one member is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. And so basically, does that open a door in the future for any of the assembly member that sees a board member that they don't like and to say no and or come up with resolution and remove individually to get the places, the positions vacant?
The process, it's within the discretion of the John Ashburn, Deputy Borough Attorney, through the mayor to assembly member, that it's within the discretion of the assembly by a vote of 5 votes to remove a board member, and the mayor, if the mayor concurs, it reduces it to 4 votes. So the answer is yes.
Okay. Question to Bill Gamble. How much longer is the term that he is appointed for? For?
His term ends December 31st, 2025.
So this year?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're looking at, somebody has only, less than a year. And I think this kind of meeting definitely puts things on notice because in original, it was applied to all of them, but it seems like some people potentially changed how they behaved because of potentially losing that position. I would want to see this be as a notice to if that, inappropriate behavior or something like that consists. And I think this is a big enough warning, but I don't want to see that precedent be set for future, and I cannot support outlining one person. I would have supported the original if it was as a whole, then you reappoint, but this seems like a really cater to one individual person, and I cannot support that.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, Mr. Farnop, this wouldn't change any precedents. Right now, the Assembly already has the power to remove one or all of the board members on the RSA, if, as the attorney concurs with that.
Correct. I'm saying in the past, that's as long as I've been here, we never removed anyone that I can remember. And if there's somebody doesn't align with their political views or for whatever reasons, and yet they're might be all not polished, but I think you wait till their term ends and then appoint someone who fits better that category. So that's mine.
Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
So I'd just like to remind Dimitri that I did not write the original resolution. It came from the mayor. And I concurred with it, though. And since then, I've attended RSA 21 meetings, and I've watched the board, how they conduct themselves. And like I stated earlier, 4 of the 5 have got the message that there's a certain way that a board should conduct themselves, especially when they're dealing with the public. And Mr. Daniels continues to make comments about the borough administration, misappropriating money, using it for projects other than what it's supposed to be used for, and that's why roads aren't being maintained, and I could go on about it. And like I said, the conversation digressed into a heated discussion between the board members to the point that where the public just got up and left. So I think that in this case, I'm asking that only Mr. Daniels be removed from the board, and the other 4 that have chosen to conduct themselves appropriately remain on the board. And I don't think this is an unreasonable request. Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
Just a clarification from Mr. Gamble. Basically, you're not trying to remove anybody because they have a differing view or anything like that. What you're really trying to do is uphold the board and the process. You're concerned about how it's been disruptive to just the process, even for the public to come and interact with the board is kind of what I'm hearing from what you've seen there.
That's absolutely correct. In fact, I've told the board, I don't expect them to agree with me, if they do, great. If they don't, then they don't. But I do expect them to conduct themselves professionally, and when they interact with the public, that they do so on behalf of the community as a whole. And they're actually representing the administration too. And for one of the board members, especially the chair of the board, to be out there making comments about the administration misappropriating funds and using it for projects other than what's in the best interest of the community, I think is very inappropriate and deserves removal from the board.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Go ahead online.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So, I guess kind of my view on this here is that the mayor has the power to appoint the members of these boards. And when the mayor and the assembly member from that district decide that a member who has been appointed is not acting professionally in their capacity on that board, then I think that the assembly should support the mayor and the assembly member.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, the IT is trying to improve Tim's volume when he's speaking. We could hear.
Yeah, he did improve it, but then he tried to get us awake at the same time. That's okay. We appreciate you, Caleb. Assemblyperson Phonoff, go ahead.
Is there a process in place for the body itself, if they see that, and I think it's a 5-member board, to put in a resolution or something like that together, if the body itself finds it same as the assembly person finds it? So I would like to see that option being explored, because at that time maybe it'd be a split decision, because it does sound like it's a little bit political based. So I guess I want to see if there's additional options to see if the body actually would want to see that change or not.
Further discussion? I want to state for the record that I support the amendment and still support the resolution. Okay. Is there Assemblyperson Phonoff, do you object then? So we should, okay. So there is an objection. So Madam Clerk, go ahead and take the roll.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on the amendment,
The
correct?
amendment, this is the amendment to reduce 5 names to 1.
Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Madam Mayor, it is passed with Assemblymember Phonoff and Assemblymember Bernier opposed.
Okay. So now we have the RSA 25-020 before you with 1 name on it. Further discussion on that resolution? Yes.
Did the attorney said something about the 5 votes, or was that the simple vote majority on this one?
I was the sponsor along with Assemblyperson Gamble, and so I guess maybe the attorney, I better let the attorney explain it and why we can do 4 votes. Okay, go ahead, sir.
So because of the mayor's concurrence, it takes a 4 votes to pass the resolution. Of course, the mayor always can vote in the event of a tie.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion for the resolution as it has been amended. Do we have an objection? We do. Okay, Madam Clerk?
The members can go ahead and vote on the main motion as amended. Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assembly Member Bernier and Bernier and Bonoff opposed.
Okay, thank you. All righty, and then Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready.
Right, as fast as I can.
I know.
Ordinance 25023, an ordinance conveying and merging the borough's development rights interests with the agricultural rights title for fee simple title with the agricultural covenants for tax ID 19N05 W13C002 to Tori and Cynthia Olek. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Go ahead, staff.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Joe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Joe Metzger, Land and Resource Management Division Manager. This legislation before you tonight is an ag conversion from ag rights only to fee simple title with covenants and restrictions. I believe this is the 6th or 7th ag conversion application that has been before you since that program was adopted in 2022. Currently, Tori and Cynthia Olek own the ag rights to the property, and the borough owns the development rights. This voluntary conversion program this voluntary conversion program has fee simple title to the ag rights holder, but the property must still be used for agricultural purposes. To do that, the borough will impose covenants and restrictions that are perpetual and protect the agricultural purposes of this property. During the public notice period, there were no comments received from the public or borough departments. The Agriculture Advisory Board unanimously passed a resolution in support of this ordinance. And Tori and Cynthia Olek qualified to purchase the remaining interest in the land estate in accordance with MSB Title 23 and Land and Resource Management Policy and Procedure Manual. Staff recommends Assembly approval of this legislation.
Thank you, sir.
Happy to answer any questions.
Yep, you did a good job, Joe. Thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and open public hearing, but before I do that, let the record show that Assemblyperson McKee left at 6:45 to attend the service for Mr. Stone. So I'm going to go ahead and open. We do not have a sign-up sheet. So you're welcome to testify to the Assembly on this ordinance. This is ordinance 25-023. Okay, see no movement. Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not have anybody online. Okay, so one last chance. Okay, so go ahead and close the public hearing, and Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-023.
Okay, is there discussion? Is there an objection? Okay, seeing and hearing no objection, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk? Oh, I need to do this. Okay, so tonight, as you can see, we have a pretty thick packet, but there are some LIDs that we would like to take those ordinances together, both for the public hearing and as well as for the discussion and for the vote. If any of the Assembly feels uncomfortable with that, we can go ahead and divide the question, but I think we will keep the public hearing for all of the LIDs, and then if the Assembly wants to divide the question, they can at that time, and we can vote on it. So, but we have staff report. You need to
I'll
read
read
it.
them all. I'll read them all.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Ordinance 25031, an ordinance confirming the assessment roll for the North Kurt Circle Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 650, establishing the method of terminating assessments and making refunds to property owners with accompanying ordinance 2532, an ordinance providing for the financing not to exceed $91,490 principal amount of special assessment internal service funds for the North Kurt Circle Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 650, and fixing details of said financing, ordinance 2533, an ordinance confirming the assessment roll for the Easy Street and Cozy Circle Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 658, establishing the method of terminating assessments and making refunds to property owners with accompanying ordinance 2534, an ordinance providing for the financing not to exceed $66,625 Principal amount of special assessment internal service funds for the Easy Street and Cozy Circle Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 658 and fixing details of said financing. Ordinance 2535, an ordinance confirming the assessment roll for the Echo Lake Drive and Neckerson Drive Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 663, establishing the method of terminating assessments and making refunds to property owners. Ordinance 2536, an ordinance providing for the financing not to exceed $231,239. Principal amount of special assessment internal service funds for the Echo Lake Drive and Neckerson Drive Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 663, and fixing details of said financing. Ordinance 2537, an ordinance confirming the assessment roll for the Homestead Drive Natural Gas Local Improvement District. Number 667, establishing the method of terminating assessments and making refunds to property owners. With accompanying ordinance 2538, an ordinance providing for the financing not to exceed $68,456. Principal amount of special assessment internal service funds for the Homestead Drive Natural Gas Local Improvement District. Number 667, and fixing details of said financing. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to any of those, please press star 3.
Go ahead, staff.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, finance director. Before you is a total of 8 ordinances, 4 of which confirm the assessment rolls for these projects and 4 of which confirm the financing for these projects. These projects, the work has all been done. Instar has been paid for the cost of these projects. At this point, what we're asking the assembly to do is to confirm the assessment roll and to approve the financing through the internal service fund.
Any of the assembly have questions of staff? Okay, guess not. Thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and the public hearing will be for all. There are 4 LIDs, but there are 8 ordinances. So anyone that would like to testify to the assembly, either pro or con, or questions on these ordinances? Okay, do we have anybody online? We do not have anybody online. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead, sir.
I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-031, 25-032, 25-033, 25-034, 25-035, 25-036, 25-037, and 25-038.
Okay, discussion. Does the assembly, everybody feel comfortable taking it as one package? Does anybody have any concerns about that? Okay, is there any objection to the motion to adopt all of the ordinances? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2539, an ordinance accepting and appropriating a grant in the amount of $113,500 from the Alaska State Department of Environmental Conservation to conduct education and outreach to reduce non-point source pollution in riparian areas adjacent to impacted water bodies, with accompanying resolution 2530, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for the Healthy Mat-Su Riparian Areas Education and Outreach Project to reduce non-point source pollution in riparian areas adjacent to impacted water bodies. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
And staff, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Manager and Madam Mayor, Assembly members. I'm Maggie Brown. I'm a long-range planner for the borough. This ordinance 25-039 is to accept and appropriate grant funds from the Alaska State Department of Environmental Conservation to fund education and outreach projects. The Matanuska-Susitna Borough is launching a public education and outreach initiative aimed at protecting and restoring riparian areas. This project seeks to reduce non-point source pollution by educating residents on importance of riparian zones and maintaining water quality, preventing erosion, and providing flood protection. Thank you.
Anybody have questions from staff? No, you did good. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Doesn't look like we have a sign-up sheet for ordinance 25-039 and resolution 25-030. Anybody that would like to speak to the assembly on either that ordinance or that resolution? Okay, anybody online? No, sir, we don't have anybody online. See any movement, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-039 and resolution 25-030.
Okay, discussion by the assembly on the motion. Is there objection to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2548, an ordinance approving the purchase of Big Lake Lions Club Recreation Center and adjacent parking lot at 2942 and 2863 South Lion Circle, Big Lake, Alaska for $400,000, subject to appropriation in the fiscal year 2026 budget and upon terms and conditions within the agreement. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, staff, go ahead, Joe.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Joe Metzger, Land and Resource Management Division Manager. This legislation before you is the last piece of the puzzle needed to authorize the manager to purchase the Big Lake Lions Club Recreation Center and adjacent parking lot. The information memorandum contains a lot of information on what has transpired over the last year and a half or so. Last Thursday, the Assembly adopted the fiscal year 26 operating budget, which allocates $400,000 for the purchase of this facility and parking lot. Had that money not been allocated, we would not be here before you with this legislation tonight. The 2025 appraised value of the recreation center is almost $5 million, coming in at $4.95 million. And the value of the parking lot is $28,000. I'm happy to answer any questions or provide more information, but I know this subject has been covered a lot in previous meetings, so I'll just stop here. But staff does recommend Assembly approval to authorize the manager to complete the purchase and acquire this property. Thank you.
Okay, questions of staff? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you, sir. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-048. We don't have a sign-up sheet. Anyone that would like to testify on this ordinance or against it? Do we have anybody online, Caleb? We do not. One last chance. Okay, see no movement. I'll close the public hearing and Assembly, let's see here, Gamble, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-048, and I'd like to speak to it.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to echo what Mr. Metzger said. The purchase of this building and the maintenance running of it has already been approved through the fiscal year 26 budget. And so this is just letting the manager go ahead and enter into the purchase agreement with the Big Lake Lions Club. So I hope everybody votes yes. Thank you.
Okay. Discussion by the Assembly on the motion to adopt? Is there objection on the motion? I'll say we do have an objection on the motion to adopt ordinance 25-048. Madam Clerk.
If the members in the room can go ahead and vote on the main motion. Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Well, there we go. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Bernier and Ponoff opposed.
Okay.
Ordinance 25053, an ordinance reappropriating $90,000 from the Animal Care and Regulation fiscal year 2025 operating budget to the Animal Care Project for the cremator purchase subproject with accompanying resolution 2539, a resolution renaming and amending the scope of work for the cremator refurbishment subproject and approving the scope of work and budget for the cremator purchase. If I've said that wrong, please tell me. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press 3.
Staff, go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly members. My name is Vanessa Forbes, Animal Care. We're requesting to reappropriate $90,000 from our permanent wages from this fiscal year to the existing cremator refurbishment project fund, which currently holds $61,000. This reallocation will provide sufficient funding to purchase a new cremator unit. We're also requesting a change in the project scope from refurbishment to full replacement based on the cremator's age, the manufacturer no longer being in business, the unavailability of replacement parts, and the recommendation of crematory technician advising against refurbishment. Replacing the unit will ensure continued reliability and operation, minimizing service disruptions, and reducing long-term maintenance. We did some calculations. The total cost per month to run a cremator is $839. We did look at outside sources to come and pick up animals and provide that service for us, which with our current burn rate would be about $3,500 per month to outsource.
Okay. Questions by the assembly? Yes, Assemblyperson Paula, go ahead.
So is this the $90,000 for the new, or that's just reappropriating? How much is that whole new unit approximately cost?
Go
Through
ahead,
the mayor,
sir.
too. So the 90,000 would combine with the 61,000 for a new unit, which would approximately be with installation, shipping, and everything about 125,000.
Okay, brand new and longevity of the life of it. Do you know what they?
Yeah, so a brand new cremator. I'm sorry, through the mayor. A new unit usually has about 20 to 30 years. So with what we would save each month, we'd probably pay off a new unit in about 3.5 to 4 years instead of paying with what we would save between that and outsourcing.
And what is the fuel source for these cremators? Are they gas, electric, or what do they use?
Gas.
Gas, thank you.
Further questions of staff? Okay, thank you. Going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-053 and resolution 25-039. No sign-up sheet, okay. Anybody online, Caleb? No, nobody online. Okay, one last chance. See any movements? I'll close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Nowers.
I move to adopt ordinance number 25-053 and accompanying resolution 25-039.
Okay. Discussion on the motion? Is there objection to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2556, an ordinance extending the time limit for completion of expiring project funds through June 30th, 2026. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Staff, go ahead. Cheyenne.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, finance director. Before you is legislation to extend the completion date of a number of projects that are set to expire on June 30, 2025. These projects represent roughly $13.4 million in ongoing projects that are basically in process or soon to be in process.
Questions for staff? Okay, all right, thank you. No sign-up sheet. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-056. Anybody online, Caleb? No? Okay. One last chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing on ordinance 25-05. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry, Anthony Rhodes. I'm new. I have no idea how any of this works. So I don't want to lose talking on another thing, but I don't really understand. I mean, where is all the funding that has to go to this come from? If they're going to extend it, why does it have to be extended? Why isn't it done? If they gave deadlines and they didn't meet that,
Why
didn't
aren't the projects done?
Sure.
Okay. We have Shine.
You don't.
Yeah, we don't.
We need to get George probably.
Or I could sit down and like learn. I didn't look at all this. This is.
Yeah.
To it, I just didn't know if you wanted to start.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we will for this gentleman.
13 mil, that just seems like a ton of money. Where's it coming from?
Normally, we don't have a give and take. So that's why the conversation is going on up here. But I said, for this gentleman, we will extend the rules. So the borough manager is going to talk to you for a minute.
So through the mayor, we'll just use this as an opportunity to speak to the assembly and the public in general. So
Yeah.
what we do, and the mayor and I had a conversation about projects and timelines, like what can get frustrating is when the assembly allocates money in a project account. What that means is that it can extend beyond a single fiscal year. So what we do here as an internal control is the assembly sets deadlines for all of our project accounts because it creates some urgency and creates some accountability with regards to us having to come back if we want to extend certain projects. So about 4.5, 5 years ago when I got here, our list was really long and it went back about 10 years plus. And I was like, that's just not great. So if you look at this list in detail, I think there's 3 projects that are about 6 years old and the rest are within that 5-year window. What these projects are areas where the 3-year timeline given wasn't adequate. So for example, if we're going to build a fire station, oftentimes we can't get that done in 3 years, but we still set the project expiration at 3 years because it creates an opportunity for the assembly to reevaluate whether or not you want to continue to apply those funds in that way. Mm-hmm. And so I could go through every one of these and explain why is it taking longer than it should have. Some of it is we can't get a project ready to bid because we don't have the land acquired. Perhaps it's we have to work with a state agency and we don't have the approvals like for Jonesville. And so what this does is by extending the time, it allows those funds, which are already allocated, these aren't new funds, to stay in those projects account and for staff to continue to work on those projects and try to see them forward to completion. So my goal as an administrator is to kind of stick in that 0 to 5 year window because it's unrealistic for some projects to get done in 2 or 3 years. I mean, road projects, when we look at some of those, when you get into right-of-way acquisition and design and stuff, can take 5, 6, maybe a little bit longer if it gets contentious. So what we do is we just come back to the assembly, put it back on the record, and then the assembly has a chance to evaluate whether or not they want to continue to have that project on the books. And then there are a number of projects that aren't on this list because we didn't bring them forward that will expire and those funds will lapse. And then the assembly will get to determine how they might choose to reappropriate those funds. That you don't see those on that list because we're just going to allow the time to expire and those project accounts will be closed.
Gotcha.
Does that help? I know that's
Sure. I mean, I'm just a new homeowner and I'm just in the first year of owning my home. I see my taxes go up and all this stuff. So I'm trying to understand where all this is coming from. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we're glad you're taking an interest in what the community is doing. Thank you. And thanks to the assembly for your indulgence for me. Yeah, so it's probably good education for everybody that's here, including the assembly. So, let's see, have we had the public hearing on this yet? That was it? And do we have anybody online? We do not. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 25-056. And Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-056.
Okay, discussion by the assembly? Yes, Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
I'd say I couldn't have explained it as usual any better than the manager just did, but I just wanted to say on the record, thank you for coming and asking about it, because there's often an explanation that is helpful, and you may disagree with it at that point, but at least you have the facts. So thank you very much for coming and asking the question. And you don't have to come to assembly meeting. You can come to us or staff at any time. So thank you.
Any objection to the motion to adopt ordinance 25-056? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25-057, an ordinance accepting and appropriating a grant for $2,000 from the state of Alaska for reimbursement of travel expenses to attend the Association of State Floodplain Managers Training Conference with accompanying resolution 2545, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for reimbursement of travel expenses to attend the Association of State Floodplain Managers Training Conference. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, go ahead, Wade.
Thank you, Manager, Madam Mayor, and Assembly members. I'm Wade Long, Development Services Manager for the Planning Department. Ordinance 25-057 accepts $2,000 grant from the state of Alaska to support travel costs for our floodplain administrator and current planner, Tawny Boothby. Tawny is attending the Association of State Floodplain Managers Conference in New Orleans, a nationally recognized event focused on floodplain management, resilience, and hazard mitigation. This comes as the borough updates its hazard mitigation plan and continues to address the complex environmental and development challenges. Tawny will also be formally recognized at the conference for 20 years of service as a certified floodplain manager with experience at both borough and state levels. We're grateful to the state of Alaska for this meaningful grant. It speaks to the trust and respect they place in Tawny and the work she does in partnership with the state and our borough. I'm available for any questions, please.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Yes, Assemblyperson.
Thanks,
Campbell, go
Wade.
ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Did Tawny figure out how to fund the Jolly Creek drainage?
Sure, sure did.
Thank you.
She is amazing, so probably.
Any other questions? I guess that's it. Thanks, Wade. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-057 and resolution 25-045. No sign-up sheet, okay. Do we have anybody online, Caleb? We do not. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-057 and resolution 25-045. And I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I've actually never had the privilege of meeting Tawny in person, but I have emailed and talked to her many times on the phone, and she is a wealth of knowledge. She's helped me navigate as a builder and professionally navigate the floodplain process. I've talked to a lot of homeowners that have had really positive encounters with Tawny, and she's helped them navigate the floodplain process. So I'm sure that the Assembly has no problem accepting free money from the state of Alaska, but I just wanted to give that a shout out to Tawny, whoever she may be, because I've never met her in person.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion, Assemblyperson Nowers?
I would just reiterate that I haven't had nearly as many discussions because I'm not a builder, but had a constituent issue that came up and spoke with Tawny at length in detail, and it was so nice, just to give her a shout out. But she's not the only borough employee that has been a great resource for when you're trying to figure out something, and it's complex when you get into floodplain development for sure. So.
Further discussion on the motion? Is there objection to the legislation? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the legislation has been passed. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25058, an ordinance amending MSB 5.25142, annexing 3 parcels off the Glen Highway into the Greater Palmer Consolidated Fire Service Area without the placement of the question on the ballot and finding that it serves the public interest. With accompanying resolution 2549, a resolution finding the annexation of 3 parcels located off the Glen Highway into the Greater Palmer Consolidated Fire Service Area serves the public interest. And Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I give the staff report on this one.
Okay.
We did have somebody come in, request to do a petition to annex 3 parcels off the Glen Highway into the Greater Palmer Consolidated Fire Service Area. They received 100% of the signatures on the petition. And then the legislation was created and it went to the Greater Palmer Consolidated Fire Service Area Board of Supervisors, where they passed it without objection. And now it's going to be before the Assembly for your discussion and up for approval.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-058 and resolution 25-049, and we do not have a sign-up sheet. Anyone here that would like to testify on this ordinance or this resolution? Okay, do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay, one last chance. Anybody here? No? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Gamble.
Yeah, I just want to note that the Greater Palmer Fire Service Area Board of Supervisors unanimously approved adding these parcels to the fire service area.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, we have a motion yet, so it's that Assemblyperson Sumner, do you have that motion?
You got it.
I don't have it, but I will. I move to adopt ordinance number 25-058 and resolution number 25-049.
Okay, well, good at winging it. Okay, so the motion before you is to accept the ordinance and resolution discussion by the assembly. Okay, do we have anybody online, sir? We do not? Okay. Is there any objection to the legislation becoming, passing? Okay, don't see anything, so the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25059, an ordinance amending MSB 4.80 Agricultural Advisory Board to remove term limits for the board. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
We don't. Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance 25-059. Anybody want to testify? Okay, do we have anybody online? We do not. We don't have a sign-up sheet. Okay, I'll close the public hearing, and Assemblyperson Sumner, you have the motion?
I move to adopt ordinance number 25-059, if I can speak to it.
Sure.
Yeah, no one approached me and asked me to do this. This came about because Madam Mayor asked me to find someone to fill a vacancy on the agricultural board. The seat was vacated by a realtor. And I felt that we should probably have someone with some agricultural experience on the agricultural board. And I discovered that it was really difficult to find someone that was willing to serve on the agricultural board that had agricultural experience, because there are really a finite number of farmers and people that grow things professionally in the valley. We have other boards that do not have term limits, so I kind of feel like if there are any boards that shouldn't have term limits, it's one like this with a really limited pool of applicants that are qualified and interested in serving.
Okay. Discussion, Assemblyperson Nowers, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So we had a short discussion about this, and so I've been thinking about it. Have you had a chance to ask the Ag Advisory Board, or have they been asked what they think about this?
That's a good question. No, I have not. I have not asked them.
Okay.
I mean, I guess my thought would be if they don't want to serve more than 2 terms, they can resign.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll throw it out there, just a move to postpone this and send it to the Ag Board and get their opinion on it.
So would that be a motion to postpone and then add to referrals?
I think we just postpone it till a certain date.
If I could.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, I think you're better off referring it to the Ag Board for a certain amount of time, and then that way it goes, and then it has to come back. I do not know the next time they meet. So at least then it would require them to meet.
They meet tomorrow.
Joe probably knows.
Oh, that's convenient.
Okay, then
I would
you
make
could
a motion
You
to
can postpone if you'd like.
to postpone
You
it.
could
till-
do that too.
Okay,
Sorry. I
okay.
didn't know they met tomorrow.
Which motion would you prefer?
Postpone is fine.
Okay, I would move to postpone it till our next meeting, which would be
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Discussion on the postponement? Okay. So I wanted to say a couple things about this, because as you know, boards and commissions are one of my things. And it's a 12-member board. And when I came on in 21, there were 2 vacancies. We filled 1 vacancy, and so then in 23 and 24, we still had just 1 vacancy. And on the Ag Board, there is different categories that they prefer that I appoint from. And this was, the vacant one was on wool. And yeah, a lot of applicants. I talked to 4-H people at the state fair and all kinds of stuff. I couldn't. And this is a little funny. It's so anyway, so we did get an applicant. And of course, he didn't have any experience in wool. So I said to the girl at our clerk's office that I said, okay, so she said, well, it doesn't necessarily have wool, but then of course we do have the my authority as mayor, I have the freedom to appoint in people anyway. So, so I laughingly said to her, well, ask him if he knows the difference between a sheep and a cow. And and so she asked him, and he said, of course he does, because he is a farmer down in Point McKenzie. And so I then appointed him, and so since that time, we've had a full board. The only thing I would say about term limits is the assembly has term limits, planning and zoning have term limits, and if you feel that because that this board has not been fully staffed or fully appointed on the applicants, that you would want, you say, okay, well, we're going to remove the term limits so they can serve for as long as they want or until the mayor appoints somebody else. When you look at the vacancy report for tonight, we have a total of 53 boards and commissions that the mayor appoints. And on tonight's, there's 29 different boards and commissions that have vacancies. 2 of the boards, the RSAs and the FSAs, the fire service and the road service areas, do not have term limits. Do you know how many vacancies of this 29 that we have in the road service and the fire service? 10. So that's almost a third of the vacancies in an area where you don't have term limits. So if you're trying to stop and be sure that you have applicants all the time, I think the road service area and the fire service area don't give you that. But, so I just wanted to say those things so that you would have an idea. I don't have any objection to the motion to postpone, that's fine. But anyway, yes, Assemblyperson Fanoff.
I don't see a reason to referral. I think we vote today on it, and so I object to referring it.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to postpone?
I would just say as a courtesy for changing something to the ag board, let's ask them. I mean, there may be something we're not thinking of tonight.
Okay, for the Assemblyperson.
Oh, I was just going to say I have no objection to referring, especially for such a short period of time. I feel very absent-minded for not asking them what they thought about it, since it very directly affects them.
Further discussion on the motion to postpone? Do we have an objection to the motion? We do have an objection. Okay, Madam Clerk.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Postponement till June 3rd.
Yeah.
Assemblymember Bernier.
Yes.
Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Fanoff opposed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Ordinance 2560, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $2,064,750 from the City of Houston for the King Arthur Drive reconstruction project, with accompanying resolution 2550, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget and authorizing the manager to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the City of Houston for the King Arthur Drive reconstruction project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Staff, go
Mayor,
ahead.
through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, Finance Director. Before you is an accepted appropriate from the City of Houston for $2,064,750 that they have received from the Department of Veterans and, let me get it here. Military and Veterans Affairs for the reconstruction of King Arthur Drive. This money will be combined with funding from bond sales to complete the entire road project. Specifically, this portion will be used on the portion that was allocated by the state, but the rest of it will also be matched for a bigger project.
Questions of staff? Okay, thank you. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-060, resolution 25-050. No sign-up sheet. Anyone who would like to testify on this ordinance or this resolution? Okay, anybody on, we do not have anybody online. One last chance, anybody here? Okay, we'll close public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-060 and resolution 25-050.
Okay. Discussion by the assembly? Is there objection to the ordinance or the resolution? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2562, an ordinance extending the time limit for the Emergency Services Station 12-9 building project to June 30th, 2029. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, staff, sir?
Good evening, Mayor, Assembly members, and staff. Ken Barkley, Director of Emergency Services. This is ordinance in front of you is to extend the term limit for Station 12-9. That's the facility in Willow that we want to build to 2029. Right now, that facility, to remind you, is about mile 71 of the parks, and that's going to be housing EMS, fire, and rescue in that facility. And we've got enough money to go out and design right now, $700,000 for that. And then we have about $3.2 roughly million after that still in our account. And we're asking for the time to secure more funds. It is on the state and federal priority list. And this facility is very important to our responses, and it fills that gap between Big Lake and Talkeetna. It's the only facility that will have living quarters between that area.
Okay, questions for staff? Okay, all right. Thank you, Ken. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-062. No sign-up sheet, okay. Anyone that would like to testify on this ordinance? Okay. Have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay, one last chance then for anybody here. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance numbers 25-062.
Okay. Did you want to, okay. Is there any discussion on the ordinance adoption?
I
Yeah,
can speak
go
to
ahead,
it.
sir.
It's right up my alley. There is a big gap between Willow and Talkeetna, where there are no living accommodations for responders to overnight. The station will be strategically placed and will enhance the ability of EMS and fire to respond in both directions, north and south, in a more efficient way than they currently do. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion to adopt ordinance 25-062? Okay. Go ahead and there's no objection, so the legislation will pass, or does pass. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2563, an ordinance appropriating the 2025 Series B general obligation school refunding bonds and the 2025 Series C general obligation transportation system funding bonds proceeds for issuance costs. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, hi.
Hi. Through the mayor to the Assembly, Cheyenne Hamel, Finance Director. Before you is accept and appropriate of the issuance costs for the bonds that we refunded in April. What we're asking for is for you to approve the acceptance so we can go ahead and reimburse for the issuance costs.
Questions of staff? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-063. No sign-up sheet. Okay, anybody want to testify? Okay, do we have any online? We do not, sir. Okay, don't see any movement, so I'll close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance number 25-063.
Okay, discussion on the motion. Seeing and hearing none, is there an objection? No, seeing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2564, an ordinance accepting and appropriating 2025 Series A general obligation school bonds and Series D taxable general obligation transportation system bonds proceeds, including issuance costs and additional premium to debt service. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, go ahead.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Shine Handle, Finance Director. Before you is the accept and appropriation of the proceeds of the bonds that we sold for the school construction, charter school construction, and also a series of roads. It also includes approval of the issuance costs that were incurred as part of those sales.
Okay, questions to staff? Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-064. No sign-up sheet. Anyone like to testify on this ordinance? Do we have anybody online? We do not. Don't see any movement, so I'll close the public hearing on ordinance 25-064. Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance number 25-064.
Discussion by the assembly. Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. So there will be further actions appropriating for the individual projects, like for the school designs, when they will come to the assembly for approval later.
Go ahead, sir.
So through the mayor to Mr. Sumner, this is the first round of bond sales out of the last package. We did not sell all of the transportation or education bonds. There'll be another sale next spring. This is the accept and appropriate, right? So the design milestones for design approvals that the assembly has to make, as well as contract awards for construction, will still be forthcoming.
Thank you. Answered my question.
Okay. Any objection to the motion? Okay, seeing, hearing none, then the ordinance passes. And I've been requested to have a break, so let's go ahead and come back at 8 o'clock.
Great idea, Mayor.
I No. If I can go ahead and have the assembly come back to order, please.
I know, that's And we don't have another audience.
We don't have a sign-in sheet, okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and. Where is everybody? Huh? There's one, where'd Max go?
Caleb, do we have the other two still on the phone? Okay, we've got a quorum, Madam Mayor.
So I'm go ahead and call the meeting back to order, please. And we are at the second audience participation. I understand we do not have a sign-up sheet, but we welcome anybody. And at this time, you can address the assembly on something that's on the agenda, not on the agenda, something that's bugging you, or ask a question or whatever. And so we're open audience participation at this time. Okay.
I'm gonna get you to press the button to turn it on, not your
Yeah.
problem. That
There
was
you
my-
go.
My
And
fault. Thank you.
State your name and then tell us.
Okay, Renee Blake, B-L-A-K-E. And what else did you want?
What-
Okay.
Whatever.
All right, so I'm speaking on the Bogart Selden camp.
Okay.
And I live in segment D, District 6. And there's a few of us here representing two neighborhoods that are being impacted by the proposal. And I guess, so we submitted comments for the Planning Commission. And they took them all and said, okay, and they passed it on anyway. So we're kind of wondering how much consideration our comments made. So my question to you is, what we feel like what's being done at this particular proposal doesn't make a lot of sense, and we're wondering how we can get somebody to come and relook it. And the reason I say that, because I've looked through this entire plan, I mean, every segment, and the intent is to consolidate residential roads and driveways and limit the access to the corridor. But for both of our neighborhoods, we're being forced onto North Larson Elementary Road, which is not a residential road at all. And it's very congested during school season, and it's also the road to Alcantara Army Sports Complex. So the question is, why? I mean, our neighborhood already has a problem getting out that road. And the plan is to close off the road to the neighborhood next to us and force them to come through our neighborhood and go out onto the same road, which I guess it's not a residential road, so does that make it a business road? I'm not sure. So my question is, how can we get somebody to go out there and take another look at that and say, this doesn't really meet the intent of a residential consolidation because it's not a residential road. So we're going to be putting comments, don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering, how can we get somebody to take another look at this?
Okay. I think most of these people sitting here in the back are the directors of different departments. And so And the one gentleman all the way over to the left in the corner is he is, yeah, that's, yeah, Tom. And then George is over there. He's the person that if you would call me on the phone with that, then that's who I would go to. And I'd say, George, give me an answer, find out an answer to give to this taxpayer. Yeah,
So
so
get with him
they'll be
offline,
willing to, yeah.
ma'am? Yeah, sorry. Get with him offline then? Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes,
I'm Doug Tollerud.
okay.
And I just retired up here a couple years ago. I was with the Salvation Army for 40 years. And Kings Lake Camp was a big project of ours, and someone decided to put a roundabout in there. And when we told them no, they said, well, eminent domain will take care of that real fast with the state, with the end meridian, Seward Meridian. But that said, I only live behind Teelan Elementary School on Serendipity. And so I understand what's going to happen there, the roundabouts going in. But I would say closing off our neighborhood and having this traffic go through is really going to be a problem. I would say that the opening up of Seward Meridian, what is going to take place with Teelan, with Career Tech, with that area right there, you're going to alleviate a lot of the traffic that is on Selden right now because they're going to be heading north on Meridian to drop their kids off school. So I don't know how necessary this project will be in the future to invest this kind of money combining these neighborhoods and closing off an entrance if the Seward Meridian is as successful as I think it's going to be. So anyway, I just share that with you that some of those thoughts, whoever is in
Thank you.
charge
I
of it.
think
So
they went out
ran
in the
that way.
hallways.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds
Yeah.
good. Anyway, thank you for all that you
Yeah.
do. I'm very, very appreciative, Mayor,
yeah.
your support through the years too. So
Yeah, well, thank you, and welcome again. Yeah, they're having a mini assembly meeting out there, so. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly? Caleb? Okay,
How we doing? Anthony Rotelli. Yeah, one, I want to thank you for postponing the term limit thing. Like I stated earlier, pretty new to doing my duty as a member of society and figuring all this stuff out, and joining assembly meetings and all that stuff. You know, I think term limits is a good thing. I think it helps people like myself that might want to get involved and things like that to not feel shy or get away from it because someone's in there for the long term and next thing you know, you don't think you can get in. So thanks for postponing and talking with them and figuring that out. Also, I'll reiterate, like some of my neighbors, I think the corridor between that section of Bogart is crazy to close off roadways that exit. I know even if you made Bogart wider, we could still do right-hand turns. I don't see that affecting things, but to shut an entire neighborhood down and force it one way in, one way out, there's a lot of other things that go with that. So I just wanted to speak up, and we'll talk more about this when it comes up later, and I'll go join that meeting in the hall.
okay, thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly? Caleb, we do not have anybody online? Okay. Okay, so I'll close audience participation, and then Madam Clerk.
Resolution 25051, a resolution approving the amended scope of work for South Colony Streetlight. AM 25053, authorization of a cost increase to the 3-year enterprise mapping software agreement with Environmental Systems Research Institute. AM 25054, approval of utility relocation costs of $117,550 to NSTAR Natural Gas for the Snowcrest Drive and Trapline Drive improvements, drainage and surfacing project in Fairview Road Service Area number 14. AM 25055, approving the fiscal year 2026 payment to the City of Palmer in the amount of $1,269,827.65 for the fire services agreement. AM 25056, acceptance of late filed and retroactive senior citizen and disabled veteran exemption applications for the period of March and April 2025. AM 25057, awarded bid number 25155B to Construction Machinery Industrial LLC for the contract amount of $1,163,390 to purchase a rough terrain cargo crane.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Okay, is there any objection? Okay, hearing none, then that consent agenda has been approved. And Madam Clerk?
Resolution 25057, a resolution directing the manager to rebid road maintenance contract for Gold Trail Road Service Area number 28. It was pulled by Assemblymember Gamble.
Okay, Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move Resolution 25-057 and would like to talk to it.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, if these rebids, 057, 058, and 059 would have been brought forward in January or February, I wouldn't have a problem with this. But this is just terrible governance that 6 weeks before the new fiscal year, to pull these contracts out from underneath the contractors. I mean, they've probably already gone out and purchased or leased equipment, hired employees, maybe even hired subcontractors to do work. And now at the very last minute, we're going to pull these contracts out from under these contractors and then go back out to rebid, hoping that we get a reduced cost per mile on these road service areas. So I think this is terrible governance. I think it is bad business on behalf of the Assembly and administration to go out at this late time and rebid these contracts. Thank you.
Yeah, Assemblyperson Sumner, comment?
Yeah, I'm all about saving the taxpayers' money. There is no guarantee if these things go out to rebid that it will save the taxpayers' money. I want to reiterate what Bill said. I would definitely support this if we had done this in January. I know we had talked about it. We didn't really know what the new RSA contracts would come back at. They came back cheaper than the previous years. So it's, as a contractor myself, I can tell you that you rely on you make business decisions and investments, provide jobs and hire employees based on your expectations of the business being there. To pull the rug out from underneath these contractors in June, I think, it could end up costing us substantially more than just a little bit of money potentially saved in these RSA contracts. It could put a bad taste in the mouth of all RSA contractors if they think that, well, this isn't a 3-year contract I can rely on and use to go to the bank and purchase equipment that I can use for 3 years, or can use even 6 months from June, it may increase our costs across the board. So I would definitely have supported this if it happened in January, and I plan on voting no, but I would then, if the no's win, I would then move for reconsideration. I hope that you would support me in the reconsideration. I guess you guys know I love reconsiderations. And I would then make an amendment to direct the manager to do this in January of 2026.
Okay, further discussion on the motion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Assemblymember Gamble and Assemblymember Sumner have stated pretty much my exact problems with this. If we had done this in January, it'd be one thing, but I think if we were to do this now, this would put an indelible stain on the borough's reputation as a issuer of contracts. So I will be opposed to this and all the further ones.
Okay, AssemblypersonOwers, go ahead.
Just want to clarify with staff or the manager, this is a 1-year contract, so it's automatically going to come up, or the borough could automatically choose to not renew this next year for any reason and put it out to bid again.
To the mayor, to Ms. Nowers. So it is a 3-year contract, but each year is an optional renewal. So in theory, administration could renew it for a 3rd year this coming spring. I think what Mr. Sumner was stating is it would make it clear that if we don't do it now, we're going to do it next year, not ride the 3rd year.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be my intent. would, then these contractors would have adequate notice, like, hey, next year we are going to put it back out to bid. I do not think that they would have the same reaction that they would have us pulling the rug, in June, because there is the expectation that it could be rebid every one of the years.
Okay, yeah. The only part I tripped up on was the January timeframe, but you're saying in January, plan to go back out to rebid for the following year's contract that starts in the.
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
a question for Russ when they start actually putting the bids out. But I think January is about the right time frame.
Okay, Assemblyperson Campbell.
Yeah, and that's another piece of the puzzle is that we require the contractors, if they're not going to extend their contracts, that they have to give us notice by the 31st of January. But there's no such requirement on the borough to give them any notice at all. And I think that's a bad way to do your contracts. Thank you. Unless it's for
Anyone
cause.
I'm sorry. Assemblyperson Knowles.
I was just going to follow up that in my time on the assembly, I can only remember a couple of contracts that we have gone back out on after the bids have come in, and I can't remember any of them that we've done just because we didn't like the bids. It was something wrong with the project, that we got this project isn't going to work that way, so we're going to go back out. So I do agree that this was at a really bad precedent to wait for the bids to be open and then decide, when we could have done it at a different time. So I will oppose this on that grounds for sure.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I've been adamant about rebidding the contracts in my district from the get-go. Even like last year, May 7th, Bill Gamble said, hey, I know RSA 21 is way more than we expected, that the taxes are going to have to go up, but we'll take care of it next year. And I just, it's late in the game now. I agree. But we should have been on this, we should be taking care of our constituents. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Further discussion on RS 25-057. I think we probably must have, yes, Assemblyperson Bonoff, go ahead.
Yeah, the reason why me and Ron agree that because we are only asking for the ones that are in our district. I do see a problem if I would be proposing a Palmer or Butte or something like that, but I believe we're elected for a reason, and one of our reasons is to make sure we provide the best service for the least amount of money to our taxpayers. And Ron has spoken about this very many times, I know that. And there's some that overlay slightly, but we're only asking for the ones that are primarily in our district. So it would not affect you guys. So it seems like there's a double standard in some ways when, in certain things when it benefits, we want to impose our will on other districts, but when it's in other cases to say, well, this is my district, and then depending on who has how many votes. So I do think it's proper for us who represent the area to ask for those things and to provide those tax savings to our residents.
Okay. Further discussion? I believe there is an objection to the motion, so Madam Clerk.
The members in the room can vote, please. Assemblymember Hale.
No.
Assemblymember Bernier.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Bernier and Bonoff in favor.
Okay, thank you. Assemblyperson Sumner.
Madam Mayor, I move for reconsideration of this ordinance.
Okay. This resolution?
Yes, this resolution.
What we just voted on, right? Yeah.
Correct. It's 25-057.
Okay. Now, do we take that up now, or do we take it up next meeting?
Madam Mayor, the motion to reconsider can be done twice by the Assembly. It can be done tonight and by 5 o'clock tomorrow. I'm
Okay.
assuming since it's been moved right now that the Assemblymember Sumner would like to get the reconsideration on the floor right now.
Okay, okay. So the motion before you is for reconsideration of RS 25-057. So the discussion is on the reconsideration. Yes, Assemblyperson.
Yeah, my intention to open this back up is then to amend it and direct the manager to rebid this for next year.
Okay, and by next year, do you mean January 1st or July 1st or?
Whichever fits with Russ's typical schedule.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
So through the mayor,
Point of
to
order.
Mr. Sumner, what I understand there then is it would bid out in the spring of next year for the next contract year, which starts July 1st, 2026.
That would be my intent, yes. And Mr. Bernier called a point of order.
Okay. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
It is already their intent to rebid RSA 27, 28, 21, 25, and I'm not sure of the rest of them, but that was what I was told the whole time. Every time I asked to get mine rebid, he said, well, we're going to go with it, and we're going to rebid everything next year. So.
Okay, so Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead. Online, Assemblyperson Hale.
Yeah, on the reconsideration, I have no problem with the intent for the reconsideration, but I'm curious, is there a reason why we were unable to just offer an amendment to that effect while we were considering the main motion? Is there a procedural issue there, or did we consider an amendment like that prior to having made our final decision on the main motion?
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
I can speak to my intent. I didn't want if we amended it prior, then you would have, how should I phrase this? If we, perhaps this motion would have passed, and in which case then there wouldn't have been a reconsideration to bid it out next year. But since it didn't pass, I want to then see if we want to bid it out for next year. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but
Madam Clerk, can you give us a black or white picture here instead of this gray one that we have?
I can speak to amendment process, and there would not have been an issue with amending it while the main motion was on the floor. Now,
Okay.
Assemblymember Sumner might have his reasons for wanting to do it
Okay,
this way,
thank you.
and that I can't speak to.
Okay, all right. Somebody online, I think, wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying thank you to the clerk for her clarification.
Okay, all right. Okay, further discussion on the motion to reconsider. Is there objection to the reconsider? Yes, Assembly.
I was just going to further explain it. I think I didn't know how the main motion was going to go. So I wanted, I didn't want to make an amendment that they would then change the way the vote went prior to the main vote, I guess. Maybe that's not a good explanation either. But
So is there objection to the reconsideration? I don't see any objection to the reconsideration. So now we have back on the table RS 25-057, right? Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to amend RS 25057 to direct the manager to rebid the road maintenance contract for Gold Trail Road Service Area number 29 for next year.
Okay. So.
Number
Yeah,
28.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify to the assembly what I would do is I would change the title and I would change the now therefore be it resolved clause to read in 2026, excuse me.
Okay. Okay.
I move to amend the amendment by striking word Gold Trail and putting all RSAs out for rebid.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, what's on the floor right now is Gold Trail. Not all RSAs have been notified that that would be the intent. I would look to Assembly or Mr. Ashenbrunner for any more legal opinion than that.
Go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
Well, I concur. I mean, the Open Meetings Act requires notice, and in this case, in a consistent fashion, what the borough has done routinely is put things such as this on the agenda, and it doesn't include all the other RSAs, so they're not on notice. So, or not road service, yeah, that's the only issue that's been noticed. So it's not appropriate to take up things that have not been noticed for the public.
So this is another motion then I would rule out of order because of the lack of public awareness or advertising, I guess, it being all encompassing for all of the contracts rather than just for number 28. Okay, Assemblyperson Fauna.
Is, if we wanted to, Mr. Bernier, if we wanted to, my question, I guess, would be to clerk, would we be able to now, since it's goes to resolution, could we add the 28, 27, and 25 in that one? Or will we need to go separately take and do the same process on each of them? Which way? Because that's would be the intent on the next, however, which one would be the easiest? Just vote on this one only on 28 and then do the separate one? Or can we now do a resolution for all three of these?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Fonoff, I would recommend you do them separately under the different resolutions.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
couldn't we direct staff to rebid RSA contracts next season? I think that's right at the end of our ending comments.
Yeah, I think that would be the appropriate time under parting comments if they wanted to direct the staff to, and I'm getting a frown from the clerk, so I guess maybe I'm misinterpreting this, so hold on.
I just want to make sure that you called out of order the last meeting.
Well, I called out the order. My understanding was before it was to do an amendment for RS 25-057. What I understood him to say at this time was that he would like to give direction to staff to bid out all of the contracts under parting comments. And I said, I thought that was in order, but not at this time. Yeah, okay. So is everybody, Assemblyperson Howard?
There's always one thing. Do we actually need a resolution to direct the manager, like, to do this, or can we just in assembly member comments at the end of the meeting say, we're directing you to do it as long as you have approval from the whole assembly?
We tried that last time, remember? And that's where we had the split. I
think we were, I guess our assembly was split, but I don't think we need to go through a resolution process to direct the manager. We just need the majority of the assembly to agree on.
That was a recommendation of the clerk. That's why it went that way. She kind of lost a couple weeks because of that. So now we're this way. So that's what he is asking now.
So, yeah, I think my question is for the clerk, that can we just do this and sort of have an informal vote in the assembly member comments rather than go through reconsideration and amending?
Well, you can do anything, and as my interpretation of assembly comments, you can do anything but cuss and swear. I'd call you out of order on that. But I mean, if you wanted to give direction to staff or the manager or the clerk or the attorney.
Yeah.
And then I would just ask if there was objection from the assembly members so that staff person would know
Okay.
that it was,
Okay,
right?
yeah. I was just wondering if it's kind of a simpler process to get to the same result, but since it looks like we're headed that way with a couple of them. And then my other question was just for the attorney. I just want to make sure that we're within our bounds. If we had a legislation that says we're rebidding the road contract for this year and we're now changing that direction, are we still, we're still within the guidelines of fair public notice? As long as we stick with the road service area that we noticed.
John Ashman, Deputy Borough Attorney, through the mayor. I think if you address each one of these resolutions as you are, that's one question, and not expanding on what you're taking up. I think this question of assembly direction to the manager on something in the future, I think the assembly does have, of course, discretion to direct the manager on specific matters. And it's in the future rather than under a resolution that is on the agenda taking up and something that's happening at this instant. So I think it makes sense what the assembly's contemplating doing by directing the manager for doing something in the future on a future contract, if I understand it correctly. Or it's an existing contract, but taking steps under that existing contract next year.
I don't have any problem with how we get there. I mean, just get there somehow. I was just trying to think of a way we could do it in a more expedient way, but the bottom line is direction to rebid this next year for these contracts is fine with me.
All right,
Madam Mayor.
so back to, yes, go ahead.
Are we on the amendment right now? Mr. Sumner's amendment?
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
there
thank you.
was no objection on the reconsideration, so now we're back to the RS 25-057.
We're on the amendment.
The
We are on
amendment.
the amendment.
Mm-hmm. Does
We
anybody?
are on Mr. Sumner's amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would like to call the question on the amendment.
Okay. So if you want to go ahead, is there any objection to calling the question? Okay, seeing none, then Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
If I can get the members in the room to vote on the primary amendment. I don't know. The mayor didn't ask. I don't know.
What- What's he saying?
I said there was no objection.
Is there objection? Is there objection? I thought there was objection online. I thought the deputy mayor, yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and ask it anyway then, just so we're absolutely sure.
No objection on this end.
No objection? Okay. Is there any objection on the table? No. Okay. So the amendment passed. Now we have RS 25-057 as amended. Discussion? Any objection? For the passing of 25-057 as amended. Okay, seeing no objection, then that passes also, ma'am. Go ahead.
Resolution 25058, a resolution directing the manager to rebid the road maintenance contract for Meadow Lakes Road Service Area Number 27. It was pulled by Assemblymember Gamble.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution 25-058, and for all the reasons that I gave in 25-057. Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to amend resolution 25-058 to direct the mayor for next year, same as the last resolution. Or direct the manager.
Yeah, I don't get
Not-
you
not
very,
Boston
I
either.
don't get very far, sir. That's out of my authority. Discussion on the amendment. Any objection to the amendment? Okay, so we're back on the RSA or RS, I'm sorry, 25-058 as amended. Is there objection to that passing as amended? I don't see or hear any objection. Yep, so it passes.
Resolution 25059, a resolution directing the manager to rebid road maintenance contract for Bogard Road Service Area Number 25, and it was pulled by Assemblymember Gamble.
Okay, Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move Resolution 25-059 for all the reasons given in 25-057 and 25-058.
Assembly.
Madam Mayor, when we passed the budget, previous meeting, I recused myself for this specific contractor because I have done business in the past. There was no legal requirement for me to do so. I would ask that I do not have to recuse myself from this one because it does affect my district. Half of this affects my district. So, I mean, I only recused myself because I had previous business dealings and I didn't want the perception of any kind of favoritism. But since it does affect my RSA district, I would ask that you consider me not recusing myself this time.
And you do not have a working relationship at this time?
I do not currently have any business dealings with this contractor. I will be putting paving contracts out to bid this summer and may or may not use them if they're the low bid responding contractor.
Okay, so you're fine then to stay, okay. Further discussion on RS 25-059, the amendment, or I'm sorry, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to amend RS 25-059 and direct the manager to rebid it next year like the previous ones.
Okay, discussion on the amendment. Is there objection to the amendment? Seeing none, then the amendment passes. We have RS 25-059 before us as amended. Discussion? Is there objection? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then RS 25-059 as amended has passed. Madam Clerk.
Introduction for public hearing on June 3rd is ordinance 25044 with accompanying resolution 25036, ordinance 25046, ordinance 25054, ordinance 25065, ordinance 25067 with accompanying resolution 2552, ordinance 2569 with accompanying resolution 2553, ordinance 2570, ordinance 2571 with accompanying resolution 2554, ordinance 2572 with accompanying resolution 2555, and for public hearing on July 15th, ordinance 2561.
Okay, before I take and acknowledge that, I just want to state that there is no unfinished business and there is no veto to override at this time. Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner, motion to set and introduce the public hearings.
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearings for June 3rd, 2025 and July 15th, 2025 respectively.
Okay, then the legislation has been introduced. Vacancy report, Assembly Sumner, do you have that one? Okay,
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendations as follows. Agricultural Advisory Board, Melissa Litwin. Board of Ethics, Genevieve Owens. And Planning Commission, Brendan Carpenter.
okay, discussion on the vacancy report. Is there any objection to the vacancy report? Hearing no objection, the vacancy report has been approved. And then we have under new business, there is a referral, and Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25073, an ordinance amending MSB 1702 mandatory land use permit, MSB 1755 setback and screening easements, MSB 1765 variances, MSB 1780 nonconforming structures, and MSB 17125 definitions.
Okay, Assemblyperson Hill, do you want to do it there or should we do it here at the table?
I can do it here if you'd like, Madam Mayor. I move to refer ordinance 25-073 to the Planning Commission and the Fish and Wildlife Commission for a period of 120 days.
Okay. Discussion on the motion. Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I think that, you can look at this ordinance and see that it has wide sweeping effects. It affects, 5 different code sections. It affects a lot of property owners and a lot of recreators. I think that we should add some more. I think there's some other commissions that should go to for referral. I'd like to amend it to add Parks, Recreation, and Trails Advisory Board, the Waste and Water Body Advisory Board, the Transportation Advisory Board, and the Agricultural Advisory Board, consecutively, not concurrently, for 90-day referrals each.
Okay. And how, go ahead.
I guess I don't understand what you mean consecutively, not and then 90 days each, when the motion is 120.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I should say 90 days for these additional advisory boards, and then it goes to the Fish and Wildlife Commission and then the Planning Commission. And I would like to get comments from these commissions or boards.
So a total refer of 210 days. Is that what I'm understanding? 120 plus 90, or are you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Discussion on the amendment for the additional boards.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I don't have any problem at all with the additional boards being included, but I think everyone should look at it at the same time. 120 days is a number that I picked because the Fish and Wildlife Commission doesn't have as many meetings in the summer. Obviously, July is for fishing, so generally there's not a meeting in July. Again, I like the idea of moving this through as many boards as possible, but I think that it could all be done simultaneously instead of in order.
Okay, all right, thank you. Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Fish and Wildlife Commission that I'm a member of has talked about the water setback committee, and they understand that they may have to have a special meeting actually to deal with the water setback resolution. And I really like the idea of doing it consecutively with these boards and commissions instead of doing it concurrently, because then the boards and commissions can see the comments from the board or commission before them, and then that may give them some ideas or thoughts that they may not think of otherwise unless they see the prior board or commission's thoughts and ideas. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Assemblyperson Gamble, were you talking about the Fish and Wildlife Commission?
Well, I'm just
At
saying,
first?
Assemblymember Hale said that the Fish and Wildlife Commission doesn't meet,
Right.
regularly in summertime,
Right.
but they've already discussed that there's a possibility that they may have to conduct a special meeting because of dealing with the water setback
Okay,
resolution.
okay. We weren't quite sure. We thought maybe you had said something about the Water Body Setback Committee, and we were going to say there is no such thing anymore. So,
There's a Waste and Water Body Advisory Board. Which,
Right.
I mean, I wasn't part of the assembly when the Water Body Setback Commission was instituted, but I was wondering why they weren't included from the get-go. But, yeah.
okay. Already, so there is amendment on the floor. Yes, Assemblyperson Hours.
So I think I heard 5 different boards. Is that right?
I would have to go back and listen. I did not get them all written down.
I wrote down quite a few boards that I thought were pertinent, and they are the Fish and Wildlife Commission, which is already mentioned by Mr. Hale with an amendment, I believe. And then Parks, Recreation, Trails Advisory Board, the Waste and Water Body Advisory Board, Transportation Advisory Board, and the Agricultural Advisory Board.
So that, did I count right? 6? So 6 boards, 90 days each. So are you talking about setting this aside for would that be a year and a half?
That would work for me.
Um, I think that just, I'm sorry, that just strikes me as trying to just delay legislation that you don't like instead of trying to get just real feedback from people. I don't think we need to give 90 days and wait a year and a half and everything's just further in our rearview mirror on this. I don't know which. I know we're just debating the referral, so I'll stay away from that. Thank you. I see Lonnie's look. I guess I would oppose that. Is it reasonable to, so 6, can we set it at like 45 days? I mean, we're looking at 6 months. I think a year and a half is too long. Is it reasonable to do it consecutively so they can build on each other's comments? It's like 45 days. Does that work with the timing? Or can I make a motion to do that? You let me know.
Okay, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, to Assemblymember Nowers, what I asked is a total of 210 days. So it would go to those 4 boards for 90 days, and once their input was done, it would go to the Planning Commission and MSB Wildlife Commission for 120 days. So it's a total of 210 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
my original intent
Okay.
was for it to go to these additional boards first and then go to the, I think, Tim added the Wildlife Commission. I thought, well, yeah, they're pretty good. We should refer to them. They should have input as well. So these boards would have input, then it would go to the Wildlife Commission and the Planning Board or Planning Commission. So they would have the input from these other boards to draw on.
Okay, so 90 days, just to clarify, 90 days for all 6 boards to give their input, and then that goes to the Planning Commission, and then there's 120 days. So you're talking about 210 total.
For the 4 boards, for 90 days, and then 120 more days to the Planning Commission and MSB Fish and Wildlife Commission.
Okay, so, but a total of 210 days, and it comes back to us. So we're just putting it from 6 months to 9 months. I'm doing my math right. Okay. Thanks for working through that.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to offer a secondary amendment to change the 120 days in the Planning and Fish and Wildlife Commission to back to 90 days, and I'd speak to it.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So the only reason that I made for 120 days in the first place was to make sure to give the Planning or the Fish and Wildlife Commission plenty of time to look at this. But if there's going to be, if we're going to have 90 days for the other boards first, by then we'll be into late August, early September. I don't think that there's any the Fish and Wildlife Commission meets regularly during those months. I don't think there's any reason to have 120 days for that.
Okay, so the motion is to change the original 120 days back to 90. Discussion on that amendment. Is there objection to that amendment? Yes. Okay, so go ahead and, people can go ahead and vote.
If I can get the members in the room to vote on the secondary amendment, striking 120 days and inserting 90. Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Bernier and Assemblymember Fanoff opposed.
Okay. So now back to the amendment for the additional boards, and what did we decide? That was going to be 90 days? Okay, yeah. The only thing I would say is that I don't know if any of you guys have gotten the calls from the people that cannot sell their property. I'm talking about people that are aged. And so to postpone this for this long period of time after the water body setback, worked for a year and a half and had open testimony and stuff. I don't know, what do you tell those people? I have a lady that called me who's 62. Her husband is passed away. Her house is the only thing she has. She does not have the grandfather rights. What do you tell her? There is no pathway, you know? So I don't know. We need to be thinking about people that we are affecting with postponing something that's already been publicly for a year and a half. So, Assemblyperson Pona.
I'm not a fan of postponing either. This one is very nuanced based. I think that there's a lot of strategy behind it. If there is an option to bring a separate legislation to address situation what you're talking about, I'd be all in favor for it to work here on that. However, I think this one talks about the whole recommendation, right? That the setback for referral. Is that correct? That's what I'm understanding. Yeah. So to address that, I would love to sponsor something to temporarily relieve that kind of situation. I don't think there's going to be enough support, but I'll support them postponing it because I don't see it passing the way it is anyways. So, but if there is appetite to bring something for a temporary fix, I would be more than happy to support that, to make that in effect for now until that they conclude everything and then we modify it. So that's based on what you said, that's what I see we could act something on the quicker to resolve it for a situation like that lady. And then if we want to put a lot of additional nuances in to make it more restrictive, then after that referrals come back, maybe we'll add those things. So I would see that path.
Okay, I think you would bring that up under party comments then, and we'll see. Yes,
I need to stick to the referral, Madam Mayor. We're
Right.
not on debating whether we need to move forward with the legislation, just referral.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner?
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, that my intent for getting it sent to these other commissions as a board is so that we get this right. This has a lot of effect on a lot of people, not just the property owners that are built too close to the lake, whether they did so knowingly or unknowingly, but also the people that recreate on the lake, and property owners that haven't built yet, property owners who have view shed issues from properties that are built on the lake. The last time that the water body setback was changed, I mean, it only lasted for like 6 months and then was reversed. I mean, I think we need to do this once and do it right. And to do that, we're gonna, we need to get as much input as possible. Like I said, I don't know why the Waste and Water Body Advisory Board wasn't consulted originally. We have a commission of people that, in theory, are professionals in waste and water bodies. I also, in part of comments, I'm planning on directing the manager to collect some opinions from all the community councils on this ordinance too.
Okay, further discussion? Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
Water and wastewater board, I thought their role was in water supply and like septic systems and septic treatment. So I'm not sure they actually do make a lot of sense in this. They're not like water bodies, or am I wrong?
No, it's water, wastewater.
Yeah, I don't know where we are in amendments, if I can offer amendment to strike that board from the review process because they just don't make sense. And
Madam Mayor, we are on adding those 4 boards for 90 days.
Right, so an amendment to remove one of those boards would be in order.
Correct. It would be a
Right.
secondary amendment.
Would be a secondary amendment. Okay, Assemblyperson Hours, is that what you want to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, now we're on the secondary amendment, which is to remove the wastewater. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I mean, I would just point out that on the Water Body Setback Commission, we had some engineers. This is a 9-member board that are professionals in water and wastewater. Almost every property that is, that has a setback from a water body probably has a private well and septic that are, affected by setbacks.
Further discussion on the secondary amendment? Is there objection? Oh, Assemblyperson.
what'd you say, and the septic is ruled by DEC. So it's kind of outside the
And
bounds
we
of
had
the,
a DEC member.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think that board makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Mayor?
Assembly person. Go ahead.
Stephanie, quick question. So the waste, you're talking specifically for the septic, or we're not talking about the wastewater from the roofs and things like that? We're talking about septic, right? Yeah, that one was never, I think, originally on the table for the, change the setback. So yeah, I'll support that.
Okay. I think somebody online was trying to say something.
I did. If we're going to be doing 90 days for everybody, I don't see the difference on, it isn't going to make it any shorter by alleviate one board.
Okay, further discussion? Yes, Assemblyperson Gamble.
Well, I know for a fact that one of the members of the wastewater board has one of the biggest, most expensive homes right on the lake in Big Lake and in one of the most sensitive nesting and fish habitat areas in Big Lake. And I think could add a lot to the conversation about how to properly build a home in this water setback regulations as a whole. Just saying.
Okay. And the water body setback did have a representative from DEC on the board. Yeah. Okay. Any further, do we have an objection to the, we do have an objection.
I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on striking wastewater advisory board. Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Assemblymember Hale.
No.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
No.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assembly members Fonoff and Nowers in support.
Okay.
Stephanie, it's history.
Assemblyperson.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is, I guess this is related to the primary amendment. I'd just like to remind the Assembly that the mayor has the power to veto any motion that the Assembly adopts. So as long as it's done before we move on to the main motion.
I'm not going to veto anything right now. But I'm not saying what I'm going to do in 15 minutes. Or 10 minutes. I'm sorry, Stephanie Nowers.
I just, yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just think your comments are, really resonated with me, that people wait a long time. It's nuanced. It's definitely nuanced. It's a hard thing. I don't think we can solve one person's problem without tackling this thing as a whole, because you can't make an exception over here. That's what we're trying to solve. So I do think we need to move this forward. 6 months is a long time to wait on top of a year and a half. If that's where this body is at, that's the quickest we can get it. I mean, I'd rather see it in the 4 months.
Okay. Yeah, because.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to offer a secondary amendment, striking the word congruent and inserting the word consecutive. Or striking the word consecutive and entering the word congruent, excuse me.
Okay.
So that the 90 days would all run congruently. And I'd speak to it.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I'm under no illusions that this is actually going to come. The final product is actually going to come to a vote before I leave the Assembly. I think the deliberations need to be in depth. I think adding these boards is an excellent idea, but I do think that the Assembly, as the final maker of the decision, should gather all of the information from these boards themselves, rather than relying on one board to take the advice of another board and then to, render their own advice. All of these boards could come up with their opinions and their judgments on this thing and pass it back to us since we are the final decision makers. I think that would be appropriate, and there's really no reason to run this thing out for another 180 days after we've already done a year and a half at the Water Body Setback Advisory Board.
Okay. So we have a secondary amendment then to change the word consecutive to concurrent. Is there objection to that? Yes, there is objection. Okay.
No, I was going to say I would support that as well.
Okay. If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember Hale.
Yes.
Assemblymember Bernier.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it is a tie vote. I'm going to give you a second to think about it so I can write the vote down real quick.
Okay. Okay, and I'm going to vote yes, that it should be concurrent and not consecutive.
So that motion passes with the mayor voting in the affirmative.
Okay. So now we're back to the primary amendment, I guess, right?
We are still on, yes, on the primary amendment, correct.
Okay. Discussion on the primary amendment.
What is that primary amendment?
To refer to all of those boards and commission. I'll let the
For
mayor,
90
I'll
days?
let the clerk tell you.
To revert, yeah, to refer those to the 4 boards that were mentioned for 90 days concurrently with the Planning Commission and the Fish and Wildlife Commission.
I'll make an amendment now. Concurrently, but 120. That way it gives them both time. So that would be reasonable time.
I'm sorry, what did you say, sir?
So now because we took 90 and 90, we got 190, which I think is rushed, and the 120 total would be a good balance between the two. So they'll still go simultaneously, but a total of 120 days.
I still don't understand him telling me what he said.
Madam Mayor.
So instead of doing the 90 days, it's now for all 6 boards. He's moving to strike 90 days and insert 120 to go back to the 120 days.
Yeah, okay, at the beginning.
Concurrently.
Concurrently, okay. Discussion on that secondary.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I absolutely support Mr. Fonov's amendment. 120 days was my initial motion, so I would support that.
Okay. Okay, further discussion on the 120
Mayor?
days?
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead. Online?
I got disconnected there, so I missed Mr. Fonov's amendment.
Okay, the clerk will read it.
The amendment is
Thank you.
to strike referring it to all 6 boards for 90 days and insert 120 days.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
Further discussion on the secondary amendment? Is there objection? See no objection, then the secondary amendment passes. Now we're back to the main motion. Okay, discussion on the main motion.
Primary amendment, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, primary amendment. Yeah, the main motion is to pass the whole thing, right, yeah, yeah. All right, so the primary amendment. Discussion, is there objection on the primary amendment? Okay, hearing no objection, then now we're back to the main motion. Discussion on the main motion as amended. Is there objection to the main motion as amended? Assembly person?
Question to clarify. We're not passing this. We're talking about referring right now, main motion as a whole.
The
Okay,
very
'cause-
beginning,
All right. Make
Yeah.
Sure we're not, that's all right. Yeah.
20 minutes ago. Or maybe a half hour ago, I don't know. Is there objection to the main motion then? as amended? Okay, seeing no objection or hearing no objection, then the main motion is passed. Okay, so that takes care of the referral, and we do not have any reconsiderations because we took care of the reconsideration tonight, huh? So parting comments. Online, Assemblyperson Hale, parting comments?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I just think that that we're doing the right thing here. I appreciate Mr. Sumner's motion to move it to more boards than just the Planning Commission and the Fish and Wildlife Commission. You know, I didn't think about that, but you know, the more input we get on these things, the better we're gonna do with it. Or well, probably the better you folks are going to do with it because, like I said, I don't think that the final product is going to come to a vote before the end of my term. So, best of luck, everybody.
Deputy Mayor, parting comments.
Yeah, I agree with Tim. I think I'd like to see it passed soon, but with many amendments and tweaking. I think we can come up with some good legislation there. I would like to ask staff to rebid all road maintenance contracts next season, for the record.
Okay, let me get the feelings from the Assembly. So he's giving directions to the staff to be sure that all contracts are bid next year, right? So comments from us.
Mr. Bernier, can I ask, are you talking about the ones that rebid, that are the ones that are going to be on the third year, or the ones that even rebid to
even the
this
ones
year?
that got bid this year? Let's put them all out to bid.
Okay.
All is all, I think.
Okay, that's okay. I want to clarify.
Exactly. And let's make note of it and really publicize it, and hopefully we can get more bidders out there as well. Have Amy write up a story or mention that to her. You know, really.
Now she's in the audience. She's
people.
listening.
Hi, Amy.
Okay, so I don't see any objection from
Madam Mayor?
the Assemblyperson now, or she?
I can't support that. There may be contracts that are worth renewing. Doesn't make any sense to me right now to say we're going to put them out to bid and then potentially cost ourselves money. We might want to renew, so I won't support that.
Okay. And
Madam Mayor.
Assemblyperson Sumner. Go ahead. Was that wrong?
Yeah, thank you. I don't see the problem this is trying to solve. You know, the issue was that some Assembly members felt that their contract was too expensive compared to the contracts that bid this year. I don't see what the point is of putting the additional burden on the staff to do every single contract next year. We have a rotating schedule of when we do these contracts, and I don't see any reason to rebid every single one next year, and I'm opposed to that.
Okay, so we do have some objection, and Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of message does that send to the contractors who we just awarded contracts to that we're going to go out and bid your contracts again next year? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I'm not actually outright opposed to it, but I don't have enough information. You know, I'd like to get some. I'd like to know what the opinion of the RSA boards are and staff before I added my direction to do that. It seems like kind of extreme. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's a no, but yeah, but a maybe.
I don't think that's one of the buttons. Maybe.
Well, I know my RSA boards wants to raise the mill rate because there's not enough money to take and get projects done because they're spending all their money on road maintenance.
Okay, so I guess there is an objection, Assemblyperson.
Mr. Bernier, I'd like to modify your direction, and maybe we'll get a little bit more support this way, is to ask for rebid of the contracts that were bid last year, but not this year.
So are you making that a secondary?
That's kind of,
amendment
yeah,
then?
the motion, yeah, because I wouldn't sign up on the whole thing, but I will sign up on the last year's bidding.
The ones that were not bid last year? Not
The-
bid this year?
Excluding everything from this year, only putting up for bid, because we only have two sets now, last year's and this year's, to bid the last year's, but not this year's.
So the bid's from 2024.
That is correct.
Okay, good. That's good to put a year on it. Yeah, okay. Okay, so there is a secondary amendment to put, yes, assembly person hours. Go ahead.
I would rather you come back with some information on that. That might be okay. I just don't have enough tonight to say yes to that. So I'm going to say no for now, but if you come back and tell me which RSAs those are, and I still
We have 'em.
I need a little more time to think about it. You have it all memorized, but
Madam
I
Mayor.
don't. I need to think about it. Yeah. So that's all.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. All right, Miss sorry, Assemblymember Hale. I just gave you another promotion. You and Stephanie tonight are doing well here. Trying to convince you not to leave us, I guess, but go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, but no, I am leaving. No, I don't see the point to this one either. And again, we haven't sent out any notification on any of this. We haven't put this on the agenda. Like, what problem are we trying to solve? How long is it going to take? What is it going to cost us? Like, and honestly, why? Why are we trying to do this? So I'm still opposed.
Can I enlighten you a little bit? We're trying to save the taxpayers some money, okay? So I had a road contractor up north that was at like 8,700, I believe, a mile. And they looked around and they're seeing everybody else at 12,000, 11,000, and they're going, you know what? I'm not going to rebid, or I want this to go to rebid. And they did. And they got beat out. They jumped their price up there, but they jumped it up a little bit too much and they got beat out. And everybody, the other ones were lower. I think you're going to find yourself next season actually getting numbers where they should be.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I'm a lot more receptive to this one than the previous one, but I still would want some more information on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there is objection, right? So, Madam Clerk?
I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on just rebidding the contracts from 2024. Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Assemblymember Hale.
No.
Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assemblymember Ivanov and Gamble in support.
Chief? Ready? Deputy Mayor, was that the end of your parting comments?
Madam Mayor?
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
only voted on the primary. We got to vote on the
Oh,
main motion, or
gotcha.
the main motion that was to rebid all the contracts.
Right, okay. So we're back to the all contracts. Okay, so now it's the main motion of all the contracts. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for helping me. So, is there discussion on that main motion? Is there objection? All right, we have objection. Okay.
I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember Hill.
No.
Assemblymember Bernier.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assemblymember Bernier in support.
Okay. Okay, so back, I guess, to parting comments. Deputy Mayor, are you done with parting comments?
No. We need some prayer for sure now.
Okay.
Dear Lord, please bless the Matsu Borough. Please help keep everyone safe. Please give our leaders wisdom please, Lord, fill us all with the Spirit. We thank you so much. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your love and mercy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, so we took care of Hale, right? We did. Assembly person, Nowers, do you have parting comment? Or I'm sorry, I should ask, does the attorney have parting comment?
Oh, I just want to make sure, because I was confused, I'm hoping all the assembly understood this, and it's just my confusion, but I took it that the referral was for 120 days to 6 boards concurrently, then to the PC and the Fish and Wildlife for another period of time.
No.
But perhaps the amendment was
All-
that it was
all-
going to be 120 days total.
Yes.
For all of the, including Fish and
One big ball
Wildlife
here.
and the PC.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I was confused about the amendment. Make sure that the assembly agreed.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, parting comments, Assembly Person Nowers.
This reminds me of some hikes where I get to the top and I'm like, oh, I could have taken that trail. It was a lot shorter. I'm going to mark this on my calendar. It was the night that Dimitri and I united against the rest of the assembly. May 20th. If you wait long enough, it happens. We can do
still
it more
failed.
often. We just have to be.
May 20th,
Yeah, Devil's cars. And then I just want to say on that wetback advisory thing, when that issue came up, and I'm trying to remember, maybe it was Mr. Yunt who brought it. I was just absolutely opposed to changing that because of the voice of the people years ago that had been in place so long. But I really was enlightened by the advisory committee, how some of those things that they dug into, there really are some issues to try to tackle. And I do not know where I'm going to end up on it, because it's one of those things like you don't want to open up one door and cause other problems, so I really do think we can't just say we don't like it and stick our heads in the sand. I really think even if we end up voting it down in the end, we really need to dig in and tackle it. And that advisory committee was our expert body to do that. So we can't just keep drawing out the process. So that's why tonight I really appreciated the mayor's comments that we need to tackle it, and we need to do our own digging on it. The North Lakes Community Council, those guys are impressive. They really dig it. They don't just come, oh, we're opposed. They like to have their research all the time that they provide. So I think we need to do the same thing, and I think we really owe it to the community to try to see if we can craft a solution for this problem that protects our water bodies but gives those homeowners a path for that, like the folks you're talking about.
Mr. Manager, parting comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for the evaluation. I appreciated the conversation earlier. And I would conclude with, you heard some public testimony tonight around the Bogard Selden camp. And so that's why it's been introduced. It especially affects probably districts 4 and 6 more than others. But I would encourage you, if you have concerns that you're hearing from constituents and you want to talk about potential amendments or whatever, it would be great to have those conversations in advance of the public hearing in 2 weeks, just so that we can figure out what that might look like. Because it's obviously something we don't do often. And so we want to help make that as smooth as possible. If you have thoughts or concerns, I would encourage you to get with staff and let's try to figure out what, might be more palatable for you. So appreciate that. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
No? After all of that, all of the questions I asked you, you don't have any more advice for me? Assembly Person, some of their parting comments?
Yeah, 2 things. I did say that I was going to ask that the manager, not the mayor, the manager collect comments on the water body setback ordinance from the community councils. I know some of them have already given us some, but if you could have staff reach out to all the rest of them and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? That'd be great. Also, would like to go on the record saying that I am not at all antagonistic to something that reduces restrictions on property rights. If it was up to me, there would be no water body setback, but that's not what that ordinance is doing. There's a lot of restrictions and removals of property rights. So That's why I'm antagonistic to that portion of it. It's like Tim said, or Mr. Fonov and Mr. Hale both said it's nuanced and there's a lot to it. I think we need to get it right, and it's probably going to take a long time to do it. This is probably, look. I mean, this is just a referral. Look how much discussion we had on it. It's going to take a lot of our time. It took a lot of the water bodies. It took up 18 months. They were tasked for a year and they had to have an extension. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks everyone for their time, and Mike, I've only been around for half a year, but I think you do a bang up job.
Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
No, thank you. I think there's been enough said for one night. Thank you, Mayor.
Assemblyperson Fonop, go ahead, sir. Morning comment.
Thank you so much for those who might live in my district and spoke up. We had earlier a comment from men that lived on Old Squaw, which I brought up in one of the hearings before. I mean, that plan ridiculously says we got to build out this road for only a handful of neighbors that never had an accident, that have a clear view on both directions. He brought up some of those arguments. I think there's many more people that will be affected, and they will be very upset if we adopt some. So I'm reaching out this and asking those who live in that area, have your neighbors who or whoever is going to be affected to speak up. I don't know how much notice or cards that were sent to those that will be impacted. That's a huge impact, and we want to get it right. And if anything, that one deserves a lot of time, a lot of attention, because that one will be affecting a lot of people. And then after we adopt something, and then people will, when the construction starts, and they're like, "What? My road's blocked," or whatever. It's going to be. I could see already the consequence of that. So I'm asking our public to really get involved in bringing their voices here when we're going to be hearing that. Considering history that me and Stephanie had today, even though we did not pass, it's definitely a story that's maybe missed in the back and right about. But I will say that what Mayor spoke about, it really has touched me. I don't have obviously I don't live on lake, so, but there is people in a very tight situation. I think those people, there is room that we need to work with them. So I think meanwhile, while we're waiting 120 days, we're talking about difference in 30 feet is all it is. And what I would say, meanwhile, Stephanie, if you want to make a real history that will impact and really make people, I would still want to work with you on this to just change that 75 and do it and decrease by 15 feet only, because there is those people I think that might have missed by several feet. And I think if those are like a really honest accidental things, those will qualify in that category. We'll adopt that. I would hope all the assembly. And then if we want to give more restrictions and go for those other, the 45 feet things with additional restrictions, I could see those nuances we can implement and really work on it. So if you really want to impact that, I'm available for that. I think it's a very medium kind of offer that is will probably address a lot of these people who are borderline within 75 feet. So that's all I have today.
So I think the only thing I was going to say to the attorney, I think we've asked the attorney more times tonight about than we normally do. So thanks, John, for a good assistance for us. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:23.